Chapter 2186. Gao Laozhuang is brilliant. Yao Ningning was actually convinced. Why didn't I think of this idea? Who is this? How could he be so talented? Yao Ningning stared at the mountain-like roses with her mouth agape. For a moment, her mouth was crooked and her eyes were slanted. She couldn't even speak properly. You'll be able to see that talented person very soon. I've seen this kind of scene every day in the past few days. The beautiful woman in white pursed her lips and smiled. Apparently, she was used to this kind of scene. The scaffolding workers and flower workers quickly retreated like a tide. The front of Falling Flower's hut was empty and quiet again, except that there was a tall shelf with tens of thousands of blooming roses on it. A light breeze blew, and that intoxicating fragrance filled the air. In the next moment, a voice rang out, dragging out the words as he recited, "Since ancient times, who has not died? Seeing a beauty whose surname is Purple, I can't forget her even in my dreams. I've specially come to visit you. You know how deep my love is, I've come to pray to the heavens. If you can open the door, my love is deeper than the eastern sea." That voice seemed to be rhythmic and full of affection. Obviously, this person's feelings were very involved. Moreover, when he was singing, he should be singing while shaking his head. His voice was full of emotion. Even with Yao Ningning's foolish state of mind, after hearing this poem, he couldn't help but feel a layer of goosebumps all over his body. He subconsciously shivered and said, "Too talented, truly too talented." The beautiful woman in white tried her best to keep a straight face. She hoped that she could maintain a dignified appearance, but she almost laughed out loud. It seemed that it was even more disgraceful than not deliberately trying to be dignified. Following the end of the long chant, under Yao Ningning's dumbfounded gaze, a person walked in unsteadily from the small path, stepping on the falling flowers. He was really graceful, but he seemed to be a little silly. The man's long hair was not tied up. It was just hanging loosely on his forehead. He was wearing a five-colored robe and a huge cloak. The cloak was draped over his body. The hem of the cloak dragged on the ground for half a foot. As he walked over, it really seemed like he was sweeping the floor. When Yao Ningning saw the appearance of the person who had come, she immediately burst out laughing. Yet, that guy still had to put on a suave appearance. He thought that he was very suave, but he was actually very silly. This person had a big aquiline nose, and his two eyes were darting around. His face was serious, and his skin was fair and clean. However, his complexion was a bit green and yellow, and it was obvious that he had drunk too much wine and women. As for this guy's biggest highlight, it was that he was very tall. Yao Ningning was close to 1.8 meters tall, but this guy was actually 1.5 heads taller than her. He was really quite tall. However, although this person was tall, he did not have much flesh on his body. He was very, very skinny as a stick. As he walked over, he really looked like a bamboo pole. Wearing a robe, he swayed as he walked over. Yao Ningning estimated that if she cut off this person's entire body, the amount of flesh he had would definitely not exceed 3.5 kilograms. This person's dressing was really indescribably strange, but looking at this person's behavior, he actually felt very good about himself. He felt that he was very graceful. Wearing clothes and a hat, he was indeed a person of character. Outsiders really could not appreciate a person's preferences in clothes. Obviously, he had already seen Yao Ningning and the beautiful woman in white standing at the side, but this person actually walked over without looking sideways. He was also disdainful of the demon race's grand mistress. He walked straight to the huge rose rack and said in an extremely gentle and sweet voice, "Miss Z, I am Tang Yangwei, and I am here to see Miss Z again. I wonder if the poem I have recited today can catch Miss Z's eye?" Yao Ningning moaned at the side, "Mother." No wonder this guy recited it with so much emotion. It turns out that it is a poem. I really can't tell. Where is the poem? The beautiful woman in white coughed hard and once again suppressed her laughter. Continue watching. The best part is yet to come. After Tang Yangwei finished speaking, there was still no sound from inside. This was normal. Previously, a certain grand mistress had thousands of wonderful plans and treasures. How could she be moved in the slightest? Seeing that there was no movement inside, Tang Yang rolled his eyes and continued, Miss Z, these are thousands of roses that I have personally picked. It represents my sincerity. Please enjoy it. Yao Ningning turned her head and her face was extremely distorted. Personally picked? Who are you trying to fool? Do you even believe your own words? Not to mention thousands of roses, just looking at this guy's appearance, if he could pick one with his own hands, he would probably be injured by the thorns. There was still no movement inside. Tang Yangwei took 2 steps and swept the huge cloak on the ground again. He muttered, If Miss Z is willing to come out and meet me, I will be extremely grateful. Why don't I compose a poem for Miss Z to express my sincerity? How about it? As he spoke, without waiting for the person inside to reply, he shook his head and seemed to be brewing his emotions. Then he opened his mouth and said, Miss, I love you like a worm loves rice. My love for you is as deep as the ocean, as real gold. My heart is filled with you. I am happy to see you. Miss, quickly open the door. I want to have a heart-to-heart talk with you. When Yao Ningning heard this poem, she felt as if she was struck by lightning. Her internal organs were burning and her liver and gallbladder were splitting. An inexplicable impulse to kill someone surged in her heart. It was not because of the love rival who had snatched her away, but because she was really disgusted by these 2 poems. There were many people who ruined poems in this world, but none of them could ruin it so thoroughly. Who on earth is this guy? Why is his class so exaggerated? Yao Ningning's face was distorted. She forcibly resisted the urge to vomit and turned to ask the beautiful woman in white. How many people can have such extravagance? He is from the Tang family, the largest family in Luohua City. The beautiful woman in white was obviously having a hard time. She had more experience than the previous one, so her situation was better. But she still rolled her eyes and said, This is the 3rd son of the master of the Tang family. His name is Tang Yangwei, and people call him the 3rd young master of the Tang family. The 3rd young master of the Tang family? Yao Ningning rolled her eyes disdainfully. What a waste of a good name. This guy is like a stupid bird. He actually wants to pursue Miss Z. Alas, the world is so big, and there are so many strange things. By the way, how did he meet Miss Z? The beautiful woman in white couldn't help laughing. She said, The world is unpredictable. This guy is also a weirdo. That day, Miss Z went out to buy some special medicinal materials and happened to meet Mr. Tang. When Mr. Tang saw Miss Z, he was shocked and fell head over heels for her on the spot. Since then, this situation has been repeated many times. Yao Ningning said with a little jealousy, This guy's feelings are so fragile. Did he fall in love at first sight? It is said that the 3rd young master of the Tang family has many beautiful women in his family. Now he has more than 20 wives and more than 300 concubines. He calls himself the 3rd young master Tang, who is lascivious but not obscene, romantic and elegant. The beautiful woman in white sighed, Since I saw Miss Z that day, this person has been coming here almost every day. Every time he comes, he brings so many flowers. In just 1 month, he has spent tens of thousands of purple cloud coins just to buy these roses. Fortunately, he is in Luohua City, where roses can be found. But I think in a few days, no matter how much money he has, he won't be able to find roses. What a rich man. Yao Ningning said disdainfully, and then stomped her feet angrily. Damn the nouveau riche. That's not all. It is said that since the 3rd young master of the Tang family saw Miss Z, he has been obsessed with her. After returning home, he didn't like any of his concubines. He even inexplicably lost his sexual ability. The beautiful woman in white blushed slightly, but she couldn't help laughing. What? So exaggerated? So, this guy is determined to win Miss Z's heart, isn't he? Whether it is for himself or for that thing, he has to. Yao Ningning's eyes widened. She felt more and more incredulous. It seems so. The beautiful woman in white smiled faintly, but I reckon, no, I don't need to reckon, that he won't stand a chance. Even you don't stand a chance, much less him. Yao Ningning breathed a sigh of relief. And you are right. If I lose to this stupid guy, I'll just kill myself? It hurts my self-esteem too much. Tang Yongwei had finished reciting the poem. Seeing that there was still no movement inside, he finally couldn't help but feel a little discouraged. After waiting for a while, he said, "Miss Z, do you want me to compose another poem for you?" There was still a long silence. It seemed that Z Xiecheng had made up her mind not to speak. Tang Yongwei finally felt a little bored at this moment. Besides, he had been racking his brains for so long, and there was no poem at all. So he turned around unsteadily, sighed, and was about to leave when he suddenly saw Yao Ningning. At this moment, Yao Ningning was staring at him with her mouth agape. Obviously, she couldn't understand this guy's stupid behavior. Tang Yongwei frowned. He actually walked over and scolded Yao Ningning. "What are you looking at? Haven't you seen a rich person before?" Yao Ningning was stunned by the question. She couldn't help but stretch her neck. In the Demon Emperor's heaven, it seemed that this was the first time a certain Grand Prince had met someone who dared to say such words to the Demon Emperor. Although this Tang Yongwei didn't know Yao Ningning's true identity, but to be able to say such words, it was obvious how awesome he was. "I see rich people every day, but it's really my first time seeing such a stupid rich person." Yao Ningning suddenly remembered that someone had said this to her before, so she blurted it out. Chapter 2187. Tang Yongwei was furious and said, "Where did you come from? How dare you? How dare you talk to me like that? Do you know who I am?" Tang Yongwei was the first person who could ask the Demon Emperor Tiantai in the Demon Emperor's heaven, "Do you know who I am?" Once again, he made history in the Demon Emperor's heaven. "Who are you? Are you the Demon Emperor Tiantai?" Yao Ningning looked at him while touching his chin and asked with interest. Although my identity is not as good as the Demon Emperor's, in this Luohua city, I am the Demon Emperor. The Demon Emperor of Luohua City. The Tang family's third young master said with his nose in the air, "I thought a country bumpkin like you wouldn't know how powerful I am. How dare you call me Demon Emperor?" Yao Ningning sighed. He wanted to slap him to death, but after thinking about it, he didn't do so in the end. Looking at the Tang family's third young master's anxious face, Yao Ningning suddenly had a feeling of sympathy for him. In that instant, he felt like a fox mourning for the death of a rabbit. This brother is also a pitiful person. Just like me, he was eliminated before he even entered the game. I'm better off. After all, I still have some manly functions. But this Tang Yongwei, this Tang family's third young master, is really impotent. He's much worse than me. In that case, I won't be angry with him anymore. He sighed and said, "Brother, I know very well who you are, but you definitely don't know who I am. As a person who has experienced it, I sincerely advise you to give up. You definitely have no chance. Look at me, I'm much more handsome than you, right? I've been pursuing her for several years, but I still have no chance. Don't count on her." Hearing this, the Tang family's third young master became spirited. He took 7 or 8 steps forward and looked at Yao Ningning up and down. "You've been pursuing Miss Z for several years? No chance?" Suddenly, he burst into laughter. "Ha!" Yao Ningning immediately covered his nose and stepped back 7 or 8 steps, almost suffocating to death. The Tang family's third young master didn't get close before, but when he got close and opened his mouth, a strong smell of garlic suddenly gushed out. Even with the fragrance of tens of thousands of roses enveloping the atmosphere, it still could not be suppressed. It was simply too smelly, Yao Ningning confessed on the spot. He was in so much pain that he wished he was dead. He said, "You motherfucker, stay away." Tang Yongwei grinned and said, "That's it? No wonder you can't get any beauties. You don't even have the ability to bear this much, and you still have the nerve to sincerely persuade me. I sincerely despise you." Baring his teeth was not a big deal, but his mouth was full of yellow. Just now, it was a taste invasion. Now, it was a visual destruction. The effect was shocking and shocking. "You are ruthless." Yao Ningning couldn't hold on any longer after 2 consecutive moves. She immediately covered her head and fled like a rat. She really didn't have the courage to continue fighting. As a native of the Demon Emperor's heaven, This Tang family's third young master could be considered the first person in history to be able to make the demon clan's grand master flee like a rat. The beautiful woman in white didn't know whether to laugh or cry as she followed him. However, she saw Tang Yangwei talking to himself proudly. As expected, the moment I appeared, this rascal immediately fled at the sight of me. He went back proudly. Before he left, he didn't forget to shout, "Miss Z, I will come visit you again tomorrow with a new poem." His cloak slowly dragged on the ground as he left in an even more foolish manner. When the beautiful woman in white caught up with Yao Ningning in a few steps, she saw a certain grand master vomiting violently while leaning against a flower tree. Ugh, is there a need for that? The beautiful woman in white frowned. His mental endurance seemed to be a little too weak. "My dear aunt, don't you know about that little terrifying trick? I didn't hold my breath in advance and was directly plotted against." Yao Ningning vomited all over the place. The moment that guy opened his mouth, it smelled like a toilet. No, it was even stronger. I couldn't resist it. Ugh, there are all kinds of people in the world and there are all kinds of strange things. It is said that although this guy is extremely promiscuous, and it is common for him to flirt with women, he has never forced any women to follow him. All the women who followed him did so willingly. The beautiful woman in white said, "This is probably a good point, right?" As for his tone, this person has a hobby of eating garlic every meal, so, according to him, garlic is the most common heavenly treasure. The beautiful woman in white smiled reservedly. "So, every time I come to Luohua City, I directly block my breath and only reactivate it when I leave. So." Yao Ningning looked up to the sky and sighed. At this moment, suddenly, an awe-inspiring aura filled the whole world without any warning. Seeing this, both of them were shocked and looked for the source of the aura. They saw that in the sky, the wind and clouds were roaring and rushing toward Luohua City. There were faint flashes of lightning and roars of thunder, and the wind was roaring. The petals on the mountains in all directions suddenly fell down. The whole sky above Luohua City was suddenly filled with a stronger fragrance of flowers. It was really a magnificent scene. A majestic white light broke through the heavens and the earth, rising into the sky and soaring into the heavens. An indescribable sense of holiness suddenly surged out like a raging tide, filling everyone's heart. Suddenly, an egg-shaped canopy slowly fell from the clouds. The clouds move, the wind and clouds dance, the canopy falls, and the thunder is furious. The beautiful woman in white looked very serious. A new sage has been born. No way, someone has broken through to the sage level in Luohua City again. Yao Ningning asked in disbelief. The beautiful woman in white took a deep breath and said, "Yes, other than this, no other breakthrough can cause a bigger commotion. In this world, only a warrior at the peak of the heavenly being level breaks through to the sage level. Can the canopy fall and cause the wind, clouds, and thunder to rage together? But who on earth broke through the bottleneck and reached the sage level?" The beautiful woman in white frowned and thought hard. She looked up at the canopy that was slowly falling from the sky and said seriously, "Ningning, look carefully. Where will the canopy fall in the end? When a sage breaks through, the closer it is to the ground, the blurrier it will be. In the end, it will be impossible to see it clearly. When it touches the ground, it will completely disappear without a trace and become invisible." Yao Ningning stared at him without blinking. She didn't even breathe loudly. The canopy of the sage level was a unique phenomenon that only appeared when one broke through to the primary level of the sage level. This proved that there was one more immortal top master in the world. In the future, even if this person could break through to the advanced level, there would not be such a miraculous scene. The aunt and the niece looked at the huge sky slowly descending towards Luohua City. It was getting closer and closer, and its color was getting fainter and fainter. However, the holy qi was getting stronger and stronger. In Luohua City, all the demons below the heavenly being level knelt on the ground at the same time. In the face of such endless power, the demons were more in awe than the humans. It was a natural sense of fear for the strong. Some of the people who still had the energy to raise their heads and look at where the egg-shaped sky was going to land. In the face of such power, even the beautiful woman in white, who had broken through to the primary level of the sage level, could not move at all. She just stood there and did not feel the pressure. However, as long as she moved a little, the way of heaven would regard her as someone who wanted to destroy the birth of a sage, and it would target her. In the sky, the wind and clouds were turbulent. Tens of thousands of miles of wind blew the clouds and fog, and all of them were rolling toward this place. It was getting closer and closer. Yao Ningning stood there motionlessly with her eyes wide open. Suddenly, she let out an extremely surprised cry. This. The egg-shaped canopy, which was fainter and fainter, was moving toward the place where the two of them were standing. Then, it turned into nothingness. At the same time, the color of the sky turned black in an instant, as if it was dyed with a layer of ink. In the next moment, countless black lightning struck down in such a boundless dark atmosphere. The clouds were flashing with extremely dazzling silver lightning, but in the end, it turned black again. Black lightning. It was a special punishment that could only be triggered when one broke through to the sage level. The aunt and the niece looked at each other and felt an extremely strong shock. It was coming toward them. Could it be that the one who broke through this time was Zi Xiecheng? In the next moment, the whole Luohua city started to vibrate silently. Even if De and the Empress were here, they would also fall into an extremely dark place where they couldn't even see their own fingers. Yao Ningning and the beautiful lady in white looked at each other. They were the two people who were closest to the Luohua city at this moment. They could clearly feel that the strongest vibrations were coming from the Luohua city. In this case, it was actually Zi Xiecheng who broke through to the sage level. The woman in white had a look of disbelief on her face. It's really inconceivable. I remember the last time I saw her, she was only a high-level celestial, and she had just reached that level. How could she improve so quickly? Yao Ningning looked depressed, as if she had lost her parents. Originally, the distance between her and Zi Xiecheng was already far enough. Now, Zi Xiecheng was even further away. Zi Xiecheng had actually advanced to the sage level and became one of the most powerful people in the world. This achievement couldn't be achieved just by accumulating spiritual energy. How many people had reached the heaven level when they were young, but they still couldn't break through the bottleneck of the sage level in their whole lives, even after tens of thousands of years? How many amazing people had stopped at the peak of the celestial being level when they were old? They were obviously only one step away from breaking through to the sage level, but until they died, they still couldn't make that step even after hundreds of thousands of years. But Zi Xiecheng was actually able to break through from the heaven level to the sage level in such a short period of time. In this room, there was actually no obstruction at all. She didn't encounter any bottleneck. It was as normal as eating and drinking, and she broke through just like that. Chapter 2189. The sky was black, and the lightning was black. Everything was black, and it was even darker than the boundless night sky. When one first reached the sage realm, there was a special law of the heavenly Tao that confirmed that no one could move in the city he was in. Even sages were no exception. This was the unique power of a sage realm expert, or rather, it was a symbol. As far as martial artists were concerned, there was always the possibility of being disturbed and going berserk when breaking through to any level below the sage realm. This was something that could not be avoided no matter how amazing the mental state of the cultivator was or how good the cultivation method was. However, when one broke through to the sage realm, there was no need to worry about this at all. The opponent one had to face was no longer a human, but the heavens and earth. Fighting with others was endless fun. Fighting with oneself was endless fun. Fighting with the heavens and earth was the only way to survive. The sage tribulation was the most dangerous at the beginning. In other words, although one did not have to worry about being disturbed by enemies, it was also not easy for one to cross this hurdle. Because at the delicate moment when one was breaking through to the sage realm, because there was the heavens and earth as witness, one's aura was boundless and majestic. But at the same time, one had to bear twice the heavenly might. This level of danger was basically equivalent to death. The beautiful woman in white was the best example. Although she had experienced this process before, and her cultivation had already surpassed this level by more than a level. She could not move in the face of the heavenly might. As for Yao Ningning, she could not move even more. The two of them just stood there. Although they could not hear anything, they could clearly feel the heavens and earth trembling. It was as if they could not see anything. But when they closed their eyes, they could acutely feel the space being torn apart. The two of them were worried about the person who was breaking through, but they also smiled bitterly. They did not expect to come here today to accompany someone in the sage tribulation, and they were just standing there. This encounter really made them speechless to the extreme. Even if they were a little further away, at least they could walk around in a small area, or lie down for a while, or sit down and drink tea. But now, look at what's happening. Of course, the situation of these two people was not the most miserable, because the most miserable person was the Tang family's third young master. After General Tang left the Falling Flowers villa, he had only taken a few steps when the heavenly might arrived. Duke Tang Yang, who had a weak cultivation base and had never seen such a terrifying heavenly might, was so scared that he screamed and ran away. Once he ran, the heavenly might immediately increased its attention, and Duke Tang was forced to the ground by the tremendous pressure. Like a toad, he couldn't move at all. Everything around him was pitch black. It was as though the heavens and earth were trembling. That kind of boundless pressure gradually converged into an extreme fear. Tang Sangong's face was filled with fear. What's going on? The inside of Falling Flower Villa was already turned upside down and full of devastation. Zi Xiecheng, who was dressed in white, was sitting in the courtyard. Her whole body was emitting a dense white light. No matter how the black lightning struck her body, her face was as calm as usual, as if the terrifying black lightning was not targeted at her. Outside the tough and holy white light protecting her body, it was as if there were countless black snakes dancing around her. The black lightning became more and more intense and denser, but Zi Xiecheng sat there motionlessly. There wasn't even a trace of pain on her face. Under the cover of the tremendous darkness, the holy white light became more and more inconspicuous, but that white light still didn't extinguish. Although there were a few times when her body started to emit black flames, they were immediately extinguished by the holy white light that appeared again. The petite body that continued to emit the holy white light and the black lightning that filled the heavens and earth were like dots of white light, fighting against the darkness of the entire world. Dots of white light, never ending. The sound of thunder was faint and didn't seem to be strong, but the surrounding pressure was getting stronger and stronger, and the power was also getting stronger and stronger. After a long time, the heavenly might finally showed signs of weakening. The beautiful woman in white and Yao Ningning heaved a sigh of relief at the same time. It seemed that Zi Xiecheng was going to pass through this heavenly punishment without any problems. At the same time, the miserable situation where the two of them couldn't move at all was finally going to end. Now is the best time to show the benefits of cultivating one's body into a human. The beautiful woman in white let out a long sigh. If she insists on breaking through to the level of a sage with her demon body, then the heavenly punishment she will encounter will be many times more intense than now. It will be really difficult to pass through it. Yao Ningning nodded in agreement. As a direct descendant of the demon clan's royal family, he naturally knew this very well. Speaking of which, Zi Xiecheng's speed of improvement after cultivating her body into a human is really a little abnormal. Maybe there's something strange about this. The beautiful woman in white pondered. Her speed of improvement shouldn't be like this. Even if her original strength is not weak, this kind of recovery speed is still unimaginable. What is going on? Yao Ningning smacked his lips and said, maybe Miss Z is a genius, and her perseverance in cultivation is the reason. No, her super long speed of improvement may have something to do with those 2 points that you mentioned, but it's definitely not the main reason. The beautiful woman in white frowned and said, there must be some other secret on her, and this secret is the most important reason for her rapid improvement. But what could it be? How could it create such a miracle? Yao Ningning laughed dryly and didn't answer. Zi Xiecheng's secret, not to mention that he didn't know now, even in the future, it would be impossible for him to know. Even if such a secret could be shared with someone, that person would definitely be the person who was closest to Zi Xiecheng and recognized. Yao Ningning wasn't that person in the past and now. As for the future, there was basically no chance for him to become that person. The black lightning in the sky became more and more sparse, and the dark clouds that covered the sky also showed signs of dispersing. The beautiful woman in white let out a long sigh of relief. She tried to move her body and said, "It's okay now." Yao Ningning made a sound of agreement. Regaining her ability to move meant that this heaven's punishment was coming to an end. The two of them were about to leave this place and go to the Falling Flowers cottage to check on Zi Xiecheng's current situation, but their expressions changed greatly at the same time. His body, which had just taken a step forward, stiffened again and stood still. Their eyes were filled with horror and despair. Because another wave of even more violent heaven's wrath was coming. Although it hadn't formed yet, the pressure that suddenly filled the air was far more than just now, and a new round of heaven's punishment was about to appear. What's going on? How could such a thing happen? The beautiful woman in white's eyes were filled with disbelief. Yao Ningning's face also turned pale instantly. Although the new round of heaven's wrath hadn't formed yet, judging from the current momentum, it was at least 10 times stronger than the previous round of heaven's wrath that Zi Xiecheng had just gone through. Why would there be such a powerful heaven's punishment? Wasn't this buying a life? If it's such a heaven's punishment, Zi Xiecheng definitely won't be able to survive it. The beautiful woman in white sighed sincerely. Such a level of heaven's punishment, not to mention Zi Xiecheng, would she have the confidence to survive it? Then I'm going to go in and save Miss Zi. Yao Ningning roared loudly, and a frantic look appeared on his face. Don't act rashly. The beautiful woman in white hurriedly stopped him. If you go in rashly, you'll only increase Miss Zi's burden and make her unable to hold on earlier. Then what should we do? Are we just going to watch and do nothing? Yao Ningning was at a loss. Now we can only watch from the sidelines and leave everything up to fate. A strong sense of pity flashed across the beautiful woman in white's eyes. If Zi Xiecheng really died under this wave of heaven's punishment and her body and soul were destroyed, that would really be such a pity. Then, the pressure in the air suddenly increased, and it was getting stronger and stronger. The whole sky seemed to be pressing down on them, just like that, pressing down on their heads. The pressure was so great that everyone couldn't bear it and had to bend their bodies subconsciously, and it even continued to press down. Only when everyone was prostrating on the ground did the heaven's wrath stop increasing. It continued like that. Everyone with life and soul, regardless of whether they were humans, beasts, or birds, all prostrated on the ground in an orderly manner at this moment, not daring to move at all. How could the heaven's wrath be resisted by humans? Such a strong heaven's wrath had completely shocked everyone present. This doesn't seem like a heaven's punishment. For the first time in her life, the beautiful woman in white laid on the ground without any manners. She didn't even think about the problem with her manners, but her heart was filled with an indescribable fear. This seems to be more like the accumulation of countless heaven's punishment together. What's going on? Why is such a situation happening? Yao Ningning rolled his eyes upon hearing that. Such a high-level question. How could a rookie like him who had never experienced such a heaven's punishment know the mystery behind it? The only thing he was thinking about now was just worrying about Zi Xiecheng's safety. After a while, the heaven and earth started to tremble uneasily. Streaks of black lightning poured down like a storm. Yao Ningning closed his eyes in pain. Zi Xiecheng Zi, you're so pitiful, but then his eyes widened. This lightning didn't seem to be falling towards the Falling Flowers hut where Miss Zi was, it seemed to be falling somewhere else. The aunt and niece looked at each other at the same time, and the surprise in their eyes was obvious. It was unbelievable that two sages actually appeared in this small Falling Flowers hut within a day. Since when were there so many saint-level powerhouses? Chapter 2190. A heavenly punishment that was many times more terrifying than Zi Xiecheng's breakthrough. The whole process lasted for a day and a night. In this one day and a night, there were many yellow and white things on the streets of Luohua City. Those were people or beasts who were so frightened that they lost control of their bowels. As for people's homes, They didn't know, but there were probably a lot of them on the day of the heavenly punishment. Chu Le and Tan Tan were still waiting quietly by Chu Yang's bed. Although Tan Tan had been informed by the sword spirit that Chu Yang was safe, it didn't seem like he was fine to be in this state. It was hard for him to get rid of his worry. Suddenly, a strong force hit them. Even with their cultivation, they couldn't help but feel dizzy. When they regained their consciousness, they found themselves on the street outside the room. In the next moment, the two of them realized that everyone in the restaurant seemed to have come out. Everyone was standing on the street with a confused look on their faces. Even the shopkeeper, the waiter, and even the chef were all standing there with a confused look on their faces. In the whole restaurant, it seemed that only Chu Yang was still inside. Even Meng Wuya, who had just regained consciousness after being seriously injured, was lying on the street. It was as if there was an irresistible and invisible force that was doing all this. No one could escape. Immediately after, the unprecedentedly crazy and violent lightning fell densely above the inn and then entered the inn. Everyone was outside, unable to move at all. It wasn't that they didn't want to move, but they really couldn't move. Chu Le and Tan Tan were burning with worry. They tried their best to resist the heavenly punishment. With Chu Yang's unconscious state, how could he face the heavenly punishment? Wouldn't that be a dead end? But no matter how hard they tried, it was still like ants trying to shake a tree. It was completely useless. In fact, it wasn't just the two of them. Everyone wanted to help, but they didn't have the strength to do so. After a while, everyone's eyes almost popped out of their sockets. Damn it, it seemed that this was the first time they had seen such a thing. He was seriously injured and unconscious, lying motionless on the bed like a mummy. How could he still advance? How could he provoke the heavenly punishment? And it was such a terrible heavenly punishment. Wasn't this a little too strange? Wasn't this a little too fantastical? Wasn't this a little too much? At this moment, everyone was worried about one thing. How is this guy going to survive? The heavenly punishment had to be resisted. But the thing that really shocked everyone happened very, very unexpectedly. So many black lightning bolts fell into the room, but it didn't cause any shock at all. Tremble? Not even a little bit. Everything was calm and tranquil from start to finish, like an ancient well without any ripples. It was as if those black lightning bolts that contained a terrifying power had disappeared into thin air the moment they landed on Chu Yang's body. What the hell is going on? What the fuck is going on? Everyone was puzzled after pondering for a long time. Everyone's hearts were collapsing with questions. The heavenly punishment in the sky seemed to have been enraged by a certain someone's response. The might of the heavenly punishment grew fiercer and fiercer, and the lightning bolts became thicker and thicker. Its might became more and more terrifying, as if it wanted to swallow the heavens and swallow the earth. However, no matter how strong or ferocious the heavenly punishment was, the consequences of its descent would only be a silent journey. For an entire day and night, the heavenly punishment continued silently. Everyone was so puzzled that they were about to collapse. No matter how angry the heavenly punishment was, it still had its limits. The next morning, the heavenly punishment finally ended and the sky was clear once again. Everyone who had resumed their activities immediately swarmed into the inn like a swarm of bees and came to the room where Chu Yang was. They saw that Chu Yang's room was not damaged at all even after enduring such a terrifying heavenly punishment. It seemed that there was only a hole in the ceiling and there was no other trace of damage. No, it wasn't that there was no change at all. The spiritual energy cocoon had changed, and it slowly cracked and disintegrated. After the spiritual energy cocoon split to a certain extent, Chu Yang, who was dressed in black, was revealed. A certain king of hell used his hand to support the cocoon, and the entire cocoon instantly shattered into pieces. After a while, it completely disappeared. Everyone saw that Chu Yang Zhong stretched his waist, sat up, and opened his eyes as if he had just woken up. He saw that so many people were staring at him with their eyes wide open. The person in question, Chu Yang Zhong, seemed to be somewhat baffled. He looked left and right, and sized himself up in astonishment. It seemed that he did not expose anything. He asked in astonishment, "What's going on? Why are you all looking at me like that?" The moment they heard this, everyone suddenly went crazy. What's going on? What do you think is going on? Such a big thing has happened, and you actually don't seem to know anything? Could it be that you've been daydreaming? How innocent are you speaking? Big brother, my dear brother, don't tell me you don't know what happened? Chu Le widened her eyes. Know what? I've been sleeping and resting all this time. What can I know? Chu Yang was still at a loss. Everyone almost fainted. Was he really sleeping? Heavens, earth, let's send another round of heavenly punishment to strike this ignorant fellow. I'll tell you what happened. You broke through. Chu Le paused for a moment before she roared through gritted teeth. Broke through? I broke through? That can't be, right? How can it be so easy to break through? Chu Yang blinked and looked at Chu Lu, then at the others. He said softly, even if I broke through, there's no need to make such a big fuss, right? This is such a normal thing. Or you're a girl. You have to learn to be steady and reserved. What you did just now really ruined your image. How are you going to get married in the future? Everyone broke down in an instant. What kind of person is this? Heavens are watching what people do. Heavens, this person is already so pretentious. Why don't you open your eyes and strike him a few times? Damn it, do you have to be so demoralizing? Tan Tan roared with grief and indignation. What did you say just now? Chu Le looked at Tan Tan with an unfriendly gaze. Are you courting death? My brother warned me for my own good. I didn't even ask you to say anything, and you actually scolded me? Do you believe that I won't tell Big Sister Dan Feng that you've been whoring outside? And let her have a good chat with you? Everyone fainted. Let's see. If Heavens doesn't care, then there's nothing we can do. Anyway, this person will definitely not be able to do anything. But they instantly realized something. Tan Tan scolded, damn it. But Chu Yang's sister was right in front of him, Chu Le. This guy was purely looking for trouble. Girl, you're spouting nonsense. When did I go whoring? Tan Tan was furious. This was a big taboo. No matter what, he had to argue. Huh, do you think Big Sister Dan Feng will believe me or you? Big Brother Tan? Chu Le looked up and laughed. Tan Tan was instantly tongue-tied. Suddenly, his face was full of sweat. Then it was a waterfall of sweat. Apologize. Chu Le reprimanded. I was wrong. Tan Tan drooped his head. You're not sincere enough. I was really wrong. I apologize with absolute confidence. I won't dare to do it again. Please open your eyes and be merciful. Tan Tan's face was sullen. Even his lips were trembling. Everyone looked at him sympathetically. What's the saying, evil people will be dealt with by evil people? This is it, humph, at least you know your place. If you dare to shout at me again, I'll use poison to kill you. Then I'll throw you into a brothel. Then, I'll take Big Sister Dan Feng to catch you in the act. Chu Le grinned. Her snow-white teeth shone. She seemed to be casually waving her hand. But with just a wave of her hand, Tan Tan's face instantly darkened. Then he couldn't move. With another wave of her hand, Tan Tan immediately regained his ability to move. With Demon King Tan's current strength, he actually couldn't understand how Chu Le used the poison. How is it? Do you believe me now? Chu Le asked proudly. I believe. Tan Tan's hair stood on end. He left dejectedly with his head in his hands. How can I not believe it? It's too scary. This girl is too evil. This Demon King can't afford to offend her, but he can hide. Everyone also felt their hair stand on end. They shuddered. Such a sneaky way of using poison was truly impossible to guard against. Even as a saint-level expert, Meng Wuya sighed with emotion. The last time he had seen Chu Lu's poison hadn't had any immediate effect on an expert of Heavenly Man realm or above. But now Tan Tan, who was at the peak of Heavenly Man realm, could be subdued without him realizing it. In fact, she could even handle it with ease, and still had strength to spare. It could be seen that Chu Lu's progress during this period of time was extremely fast. In the room, after a very detailed interrogation, everyone finally confirmed one thing. Chu Yang really didn't know anything about his advancement. This guy was really sleeping peacefully. He didn't know anything from the beginning to the end. After confirming this matter, everyone hung their heads in dejection and listlessness. Motherfucker, when was it not earth-shattering, life-threatening, and life-threatening? Which heavenly punishment didn't have countless near-death experiences before barely surviving? But when it came to him, well, he passed it while unconscious. Was there still justice in this? Everyone's faces were filled with sighs and indignation. People really couldn't be compared to each other. Chu Yang really didn't know anything, because the tribulation space had finally opened again. And now, the tribulation space was even more powerful than before. It couldn't even be mentioned in the same breath as before. When the heavenly punishment fell, it was directly absorbed by the tribulation space. So throughout the whole process, Chu Yang didn't feel any tremors at all. He was really just sleeping. But after the heavenly punishment this time, all the injuries on Chu Yang's body had really disappeared. He had completely recovered his health. Of course, Chu Yang's ignorance this time also caused some delays. If he was awake, he would naturally be able to sense that the person breaking through on the other side was Zi Sheqing. And Zi Sheqing would also sense him. But he was completely unconscious. Seeing that everyone had left, Chu Yang couldn't hold it in any longer. He closed the door and entered the tribulation space with a thought. Chapter 2191. As soon as Chu Yang entered, he was shocked by what he saw. The entire tribulation space seemed to have changed. 7-colored spirit chi floated everywhere in the space. It was as if the spirit chi was real and could be touched with one's hand. The large warehouse that was originally filled with precious materials and metals had now become palace-like things. Inside, purple crystal jade essence, soul of purple crystal, meteoric iron, star metal, and so on were neatly arranged. The original medicinal field had now become a huge medicinal field that covered an area of more than 10 acres. The spirit herbs were all glowing, their green branches swaying in the wind, emitting a thick medicinal fragrance that made people feel relaxed and happy just by smelling it. In the medicinal field, there were 3 little people bustling about. Looking at the thriving medicinal field, the 3 little fellows beamed with joy. The 3 little guys were naturally the 3 elixir spirits. The entire tribulation space no longer had the feeling of being able to see the edges like in the past. Now it was truly boundless. A little further away, there were several courtyards that were tens of thousands of feet high. The people inside couldn't come out at all. It was a special area that the sword spirit had divided for those who practiced martial arts inside. Chu Yang could feel that the speed of cultivation in the tribulation space was at least 20 times faster than outside. This was the most conservative estimate. Although the tribulation space's appearance had changed a lot, Chu Yang knew that it was really different from the past. After fusing with a small world of the same type, the tribulation space gradually gave rise to a situation where it formed its own universe. In many places, the embryonic form of mountains and rivers had gradually appeared. Chu Yang moved his feet and came to the herb field. The sword spirit immediately appeared in front of him. Congratulations on your recovery, Lord Sword Master. Congratulations to Lord Sword Master for becoming a saint. Chu Yang laughed and scolded, "Why are you still so polite to me? Are you worried because you haven't found the inheritance of your Phoenix clan? Are you asking me to think of a way?" The sword spirit smiled bitterly. Chu Yang pondered and said, "Sword spirit, there's a story. I don't know if you've heard of it." "What story? What is it about?" The sword spirit asked. "Once upon a time, there was a chick. I don't know what happened, but when it was still in its eggshell, it was accidentally brought back by a phoenix. It grew up in the phoenix's nest." Chu Yang smiled. This little chick has been watching its mother phoenix fly around since it was born, and it was extremely envious. It also wants to fly, but how can a chicken fly? Chu Yang's story was somewhat absurd, but the sword spirit still listened to it with a solemn expression on his face. He even thought about it seriously. Finally, Chick and Little Phoenix grew up together and began to learn how to fly. The little phoenixes flew very quickly and smoothly, but Chick still couldn't fly. This result made him very anxious. Looking at his old friends flying in the sky one by one with bright and beautiful feathers, little Chick knew in his heart that he was probably not a member of this group at all, because there was a fundamental difference in appearance. He also understood that the reason he couldn't fly was because of his talent. It was because he didn't have that kind of long wings. But he really wanted to fly. The idea of wanting to fly was deeply ingrained and indelible. Although he knew that he wasn't made of this material, but after a painful choice, Chick finally decided that he had to learn to fly no matter what. So, he jumped down from the trees and cliffs again and again to try to fly. Every time he fell, he was covered with bruises and almost died. But he persisted over and over again and never gave up. Some little phoenixes couldn't bear to watch, so they told him, "You're not made of this material. Stop practicing, you'll kill yourself. It's not worth it. Even if you can't fly, you'll still have a lifetime to live. If you really want to fly, I'll take you to fly once a day. I'll take you to fly, and you'll also fly, right?" Speaking till here, Chu Yang looked at the sword spirit and said with a smile, "If you were this Chick, what would you choose?" The sword spirit said hesitantly, "As we all know, chickens can't fly. Even if they can flutter a few times and glide for a certain distance, they can't really fight in the sky. Since that little phoenix has promised to take him to fly in the sky every day, this result is already not bad. 8 out of 10 things don't go your way in life, not to mention that you've already fulfilled more than half of your wish." Chu Yang sighed and continued, "But that Chick firmly refused. He said, 'You carried me and flew to the sky. That's because you flew up. Although I also went up, I didn't rely on my own ability to fly up. Once you're gone, I'll still fall down. I want to fly by myself. I must fly by myself. I don't want to fall. I don't want to have the chance to fall." The little phoenixes expressed their heartfelt incomprehension. Because of his persistence, they began to laugh at him. They said that he was just a Chick, but he actually wanted to fly and fight in the sky. Isn't this nonsense? But in the face of such cynicism, the Chick never gave up. He still climbed up the cliff every day before dawn, jumped down, then climbed up again and jumped down again. During this period of falling, he practiced his ability to fly again and again. He practiced like this over and over again, until he was covered with bruises and couldn't move anymore. Only then would he go to rest and recover. Speaking till here, Chu Yang's voice stopped abruptly. However, at this moment, the sword spirit was already fascinated by the story. He said, "Then what happened after that?" "I'm actually not sure about what happened after that." Chu Yang smiled faintly, "But I'm willing to believe that this Chick will eventually learn to fly. He definitely will. Even though he can't be compared to a phoenix, he will definitely fly further than an ordinary Chick." Speaking till here, Chu Yang looked at the sword spirit with a smile. The sword spirit lowered his head thoughtfully. "Actually, people are the same." Chu Yang smiled. "Some people with high talent can improve very quickly, while some people with low talent can improve relatively slowly. However, as long as the person who improves very slowly can be like this Chick, then one day he will also be able to reach the top and look down on the world. The so-called rich and powerful, the so-called experts, are actually just ordinary people in the beginning. But after they work hard, they become rich and powerful people, or even immortals in the eyes of ordinary people who are too high to reach. However, they often neglect their beginning. Everyone only sees immortals and rich people, but very few people compare themselves with them. So, the rich and powerful people become more and more legends. The Chick is not a phoenix. He doesn't have the talent to fly, but he still wants to fly. He tries his best to try the possibility of flying. Humans, immortals, rich and powerful people, in essence, are all humans. But very few people have ever thought of being like them. Especially when an ordinary person sees the first emperor, his first thought is only to prostrate himself in worship. But very few people have ever thought that these so-called first emperor's first emperor, peerless masters, were actually like us for a period of time. If there is the inheritance of the Phoenix clan, then there is it. If there is no inheritance, then there is no inheritance. Chu Yang turned around and looked at the sword spirit seriously, Even if there is the so-called inheritance, as long as you don't stop moving forward, then one day, you will still reach the end again. If you are faced with a situation where there is no way forward again, what will you do? I believe that for you, it is only a matter of time, because you are also a person who can only move forward and not back down. If there's no such thing as an ancient inheritance anymore, won't you try to find your own path in the future? On the road forward, the most important thing is always yourself, and not external forces. Chu Yang said slowly. The sword spirit suddenly sweated profusely. Yes, if the inheritance of the clan really ends here, and the predecessors stopped here, will I stop moving forward from now on? Will I always be content with the status quo? No, this is not the result I want, absolutely not. That little chick, maybe one day he will learn how to fly. Of course, it is also possible that he will accidentally fall to his death while learning like this, or he will naturally die of old age at the end of his life and still not learn how to fly. But I absolutely believe that no matter if he falls to his death or dies of old age, when he dies, he will not regret it. Chu Yang smiled gently and said, because he has worked hard for himself. Where the heart is, there will be no regrets. No matter whether he succeeds or fails, he has tried and struggled with all his might. He has fought with all his might, no matter whether he is facing the mandate of heaven or a strong enemy. Chu Yang laughed and said, I'm such a little chick. I hope that you can be like that too. Sword Spirit, don't you want to become the creator god of the Phoenix clan and create a new legend? Chu Yang said softly, you will create an everlasting path by yourself so that your descendants will regard you as a god. No path doesn't mean that it is impossible to walk. It's just that the predecessors have not walked or have not finished walking. In a desert, you can walk to the other side in any direction. As long as you don't lose your way, the footprints you leave behind are a path. Create a path that belongs to you. A little chick is not a phoenix, but you are. A little chick has no talent, but you do. What are you afraid of? What are you afraid of? After Chu Yang finished speaking, he did not speak anymore. But the sword spirit's eyes gradually lit up. Yes, no path does not mean that it is impossible to walk. As long as I walk, there will be a path. If I don't take the first step, there will never be a path. He thought for a while, and then suddenly bowed to Chu Yang. Thank you, Sword Lord, for pointing out the right path. If I can find a new path one day, it will all be thanks to Sword Lord's words today. As he said, he laughed and said, from today onwards, I am a little chick who wants to fly. Heaven's third chapter, supplement chapter 1. I want to say that I am also like this, a little chick who wants to fly. Very tired, let's make up a chapter today. Heaven is the birthday of our brothers, Universe Ghost and Yun Tianxiang. Let us wish them a happy birthday. Every year, there will be a day like this, peace and happiness. When I got home yesterday, I told my wife that I had won 13,000 yuan. I told my wife that I had won 8,000 yuan. Then I handed over all 8,000 yuan to her. My wife was overjoyed. She felt that I was honest, so she generously rewarded me with 2,000 yuan of her private stash. Suddenly, my wallet was full. Chapter 2192. Chu Yang finally let go of the burden in his heart and laughed. By the way, how many heavy pills do we have now? Do we have any left? Chu Yang asked. As he spoke, he looked at the side of the medicinal field in front. Near the spring of life, there was a small pile of elixir-like things. He couldn't help but ask, what is that? As he spoke, he walked over. Don't touch this first. The sword spirit jumped in fright when he saw this, and hastily jumped over to stop him. These are the essences of hundreds of herbs collected by the 3 medicine spirits. They couldn't absorb them all, so they condensed into these things. Don't underestimate these things. These are the purest good things. Wait for me to process them a little, and add the ingredients of the great herbs. Then each one of them will be a genuine heavy pill, and the quality will be absolutely excellent. Chu Yang's eyes immediately lit up. Looking at the pile of thousands of pills, he said greedily, that is to say, these are actually thousands of heavy pills? I'm going to faint. Minister Chu had been really short on money during this period of time. It was really hard to live without heavy pills. Until now, there were still many people outside who had not recovered from their serious injuries. This made Chu Yang feel very uncomfortable. Now that he heard that he would have thousands of heavy pills in the future, he fainted from happiness. He urged the sword spirit, "Then why don't you hurry up and process them? These things should be the first priority now. Everything else can be put aside." Of course. The sword spirit was very proud. "I've already started to process these few days. When I'm done with this batch, I'll go into seclusion and open up my new path with all my strength. I also want to become a person who creates history, an immortal legend." Chu Yang patted the sword spirit's shoulder. "I'll wait for your good news." The sword spirit left, full of self-satisfaction. Chu Yang was planning to check on the current situation of Tai Butian and the others when he suddenly realized that there was a place in front of him that was emitting white and black lights at the same time. They were flashing and reflecting each other. Although there were only two colors, black and white, it was not monotonous at all. Chu Yang had never seen such a thing. He walked over full of curiosity. Unexpectedly, as soon as he walked in that direction, the three medicine spirits who were busy in the medicinal field stood up at the same time and followed behind Chu Yang. Their three small faces were filled with an indescribable longing. Chu Yang was very curious about what could make these three little guys so excited. But these three little guys couldn't speak even though they had transformed into human forms. So, Chu Yang had no way of knowing the whole story. He could only feel that they were really excited. When he got closer to take a look, he saw that there was a strange seal on it. It was the white and black light that was emitting from it. Vaguely, an enormous amount of energy was about to burst out. What is this? Why does it feel so familiar? Chu Yang thought for a long time. Then he suddenly remembered, isn't this the reason why I took out that strange fruit? Was it the heaven and earth arcane yellow fruit? Could it be that the seal had loosened? I can open it now? He reached out and touched it. He found that the seal was still unbreakable. But Chu Yang had already sensed that there seemed to be a little gap in this seal. With his current strength, he should be able to break it in one fell swoop if he went all out. Thinking of the countless magical fruits inside, Chu Yang salivated. But, thinking about it again, this was definitely not the time to enjoy them. Since he had already confirmed that he could break the seal, he could come and take them at any time. He was not in a hurry. So, he planned to turn around and leave. It didn't matter if he left, but the three medicine spirits were anxious. Their small hands hugged his leg at the same time. They raised their heads. Their faces were full of longing. Chu Yang looked down and couldn't help but smile helplessly. Little guys, I also want to take out the things inside. But those things are very magical. Once I take them out, the spiritual energy inside will start to dissipate. I can't stop it at all. I have to think of a way. If I take them out now and the spiritual energy dissipates for no reason, it will be a pity. Don't you think so? The three little guys stared at him. They seemed to understand his words. Finally, they slowly let go of their hands. Chu Yang heaved a sigh of relief. I can finally get away. I can't beat these three little guys, nor can I scold them. In fact, I don't even dare to show an unhappy expression. Fortunately, these three little guys are very reasonable. Otherwise, it would have been difficult to get away today. The sealed tribulation space reopened. And Chu Yang was the most worried in this space. Naturally, Wu Qianqian and Tai Butian were the two girls. Wu Qianqian and Tai Butian were now in a separate courtyard. But they still couldn't go out. Although they didn't lack food and other things, the two girls couldn't feel at ease if they didn't see Chu Yang come in. Especially after that terrifying spiritual energy storm, the two girls' cultivations had greatly improved. They felt that they would no longer be a burden to Chu Yang. So, they couldn't help but anxiously look forward to him. So much time has passed. So, why hasn't Chu Yang come in yet? Did something happen in this room again? The two were so worried that they couldn't sleep. Although the sword spirit came in a few days ago and said that Chu Yang was completely fine, the two were still worried. As long as they didn't see Chu Yang safe with their own eyes, no one's words would count. The sword spirit was no exception. Even though they knew that the sword spirit was trustworthy and believed that the sword spirit wouldn't lie to them, they still couldn't help but worry. Didn't you say that Chu Yang is fine? Why hasn't he come in yet? What is he doing outside? Wu Qianqian looked a little impatient. Yes, logically speaking, it doesn't make sense. Tai Bu Tian frowned. Could it be that he is being hunted down too hard? It can't be like that. If he was really being hunted down too hard, he would have come in long ago to avoid trouble. Wu Qianqian still didn't know that the space of tribulations had been sealed. Even Chu Yang couldn't enter. She wrinkled her nose and snorted. I think this guy might have met some little beauty again and left us behind. Well, maybe he met Imo Qingwu, Tai Budian nodded. That makes sense too. Looking at the time, Imo Qingwu should have already grown up by now. Can? Wu Qianqian's eyes widened. Suddenly she burst into laughter. Can what? My Majesty? Hearing this, Tai Bu Tian's face turned red. She knew that she had said something wrong, but she still said angrily, Girl, why are your thoughts so unhealthy? What nonsense are you thinking every day? Have you been led astray by someone? Wu Qianqian laughed. I don't know who started thinking nonsense first. If we're talking about being led astray, it's you who was led astray first. Tai Bu Tian was even more embarrassed. She pounced forward and grabbed Wu Qianqian. Instantly, the two girls laughed together. While they were fooling around, Tai Bu Tian suddenly felt something strange. It was as if there was a big warm hand suddenly placed on her perky buttocks. This big hand was extremely naughty. After touching it for a while, it actually didn't seem to be satisfied. It rubbed it again and then rubbed it even more. Then it didn't stop. Then, a voice laughed lasciviously. Two beauties, what are you playing so happily about? I wonder if I can join in? You don't mind if I join in, right? When the two girls heard this voice, they couldn't help but stiffen at the same time. Then they reacted and shouted, Chu Yang! Suddenly, they jumped up and hugged him tightly, completely disregarding their image and manners. For a moment, they actually cried tears of joy. Sure enough, he was fine. He was really fine. It seemed that even Chu Yang was shocked by the two girls' overreaction. His lust was almost extinguished. The two of them hugged him tightly and talked endlessly. Chu Yang's heart was filled with a warm feeling that he hadn't felt for a long time. In this world, only his family would be so worried about him. After a long time, the two girls' emotions gradually stabilized. How's the outside environment now? Is it better? Tai Bu Tian straightened up from Chu Yang's arms and asked with a red face. It's more than better. It's basically stable. I believe it should be fine in a short time. Chu Yang smiled. Mo Yun Tian's army has completely retreated. If they want to make a comeback, they will need at least a month's time. That's great. Wu Qianqian clapped and cheered. You asked me. How are you? What level have you broken through? Chu Yang asked. Tai Budian revealed a look of lingering fear as she said, the rate of breakthroughs in cultivation this time was really too fast. The spiritual qi given by this atmosphere was really too ferocious. During that period of cultivation, I felt that my body was in danger of exploding at every moment. I could only do my best to cultivate and digest the spiritual qi. That kind of subtle feeling of breaking through several times in a day is really unforgettable. It was the first time in Tai Bu Tian's life that she had absorbed so much spiritual energy in a day and then broke through. She was really not used to that kind of surprise. I'm the same. Wu Qianqian smiled. I'm actually 8 levels higher than before. I don't know what level I'm at now. Anyway, it shouldn't be too bad. Tai Bu Tian said with some uncertainty, I only know that I'm definitely stronger than before by many times. As for how many times I've improved, I completely don't remember. At that time, I was in danger of exploding at any time. How could I care about the number of breakthroughs? It was rare for Chu Yang to see such a confused look on Tai Bu Tian's face. The more he looked at her, the cuter he felt. He couldn't help but laugh. From this, it could be seen that Tai Bu Tian and Wu Qianqian were fundamentally different. Wu Qianqian was the one who carried out the details. She saw every step clearly and grasped it meticulously. On the other hand, Tai Butian was in charge of the overall situation. She didn't pay much attention to the details. As a dignified emperor, if she cared about everything and understood everything clearly, she might have died of exhaustion long ago. All in all, everyone has improved by a lot. In this world of the heavenly imperial court, we can be considered to have some power to protect ourselves. Chu Yang smiled with relief. Later, I'll bring all of you out and see the light of day again. Sorry for the late update, there will be another update later. Chapter 2193. Why don't you go out now? Is there anything else? Tai Butian frowned and asked. Chu Yang was speechless for a moment, but he was too embarrassed to reveal his true intentions. He said angrily, "How dare you question my most correct decision? You deserve a beating." He dragged her over unreasonably, pressed her on his knee, and slapped her buttocks heavily. Immediately, her soft buttocks rippled. Chu Yang was enraged. He couldn't help but put his hand on it and gently rubbed it. Tai Butian was embarrassed and angry. An inexplicable feeling rose in her body. She instantly understood. She said in a trembling voice, "Put me down." Chu Yang smiled evilly and said, "A bold woman like you who dares to question your husband must be severely punished. See how I'll treat you with a big stick. Let's see if you'll beg for mercy or not. Let's see if you'll surrender under the might of my stick." Wu Qianqian saw the situation. How could she not know what Chu Yang was planning? She only felt her face burning. She turned around and fled. At this time, she was not in the mood to care about sisterhood. She didn't expect to be caught by Chu Yang. Just as she was about to struggle, her fragrant lips were suddenly blocked. A soft tongue went in, and in an instant she felt weak all over. On the other side, Tai Butian's breasts were already half exposed. In such a short period of time, her clothes had already been taken off by Chu Yang. It could be seen just how thirsty Minister Chu was right now. Indeed, he had been really stifled all this way. The whole room was full of spring. For a long, long time, a certain king of hell lay on the bed in satisfaction. Beside him were two beautiful women who couldn't move at all. They looked at him shyly and helplessly. After a long while, Chu Yang went to see the others. Brother whose current strength had completely recovered during this period of upgrade in the tribulation space. He was even stronger than before. As for the others, Wang Dao, Lightning Snake, and the others, they had also advanced by 2 or 3 levels. Especially Wang Dao, there was still a large amount of hidden spiritual yuan in his body. Perhaps it was because Chu Yang had advanced too quickly, which had indirectly caused his potential to soar. In the future, he could expect great success. As for Lightning Blade and the others, their cultivations were originally much higher than Tai Butian and the others. Therefore, the increase in their cultivation levels this time was relatively smaller. As for Huyan Aobua and the others, their foundations were slightly weaker, and they were about the same as Tai Butian and Xie Danqiong. After this time, they had all advanced by 7 levels. Now, the weakest was Xie Danqiong's wife, Madame Mei, who had already reached the peak of the heaven stage. The other women had all advanced to the saint stage. Chu Yang was overjoyed. This time, it was equivalent to adding a lot of experts out of thin air. The security had also been greatly increased. At the very least, they didn't have to send out many experts to protect them all the time. However, there was another problem that needed to be faced, or rather worried about: how to release these people. By Yu Chen, Meng Wuya, and the others found out that Wu Sheng had suddenly appeared, they would be surprised. However, if they suspected that he had a small world on him, it would be tantamount to exposing all his trump cards. Bai Yu Chen and the others were fine. After all, they had already become his hardcore supporters. But what about the demons? What about the people in the inn? What about the Dream Slayer army? If any of these people were to leak a word or half a sentence, his biggest secret would be exposed. If Mo Yuntian's people knew about this trump card, the consequences would obviously be extremely unimaginable. Chu Yang frowned and thought hard. After thinking about it for a long time, he still decided not to expose them. He would wait for a suitable opportunity to let them out to meet people. If he hid this new force, it would be like adding another unknown trump card. Only until he walked out of the tribulation space, Chu Yang was still thinking about this matter. What kind of method should he use to release all of them without arousing any suspicion? There were too many directions to consider in such a method. Whether it was time or place, he had to consider properly. Not only did he have to consider the thoughts of the people outside, he also had to consider the thoughts of the people inside the tribulation space. Now, other than Tai Budian and Wu Qian, the others inside the tribulation space didn't know where they were. Of course, they would have some suspicions, but this wasn't a big deal. But once they combined the inside and outside together with a relatively rational inference, they were actually in Chu Yang's tribulation space during this period of time. That would be really bad. Everything would be exposed. A certain king of hell was at his wit's end. He frowned and walked out of the room. When he came to the hall, he found a certain supreme demon Ning Ning sitting there listlessly with a sad face. It was as if her whole body had been sucked out of her. She didn't even have the slightest bit of vitality. The other fool, Tan Tan, was on the side, laughing gloatingly. The two saints Hu and Ma glared at Tan Tan. Obviously, their anger had already brewed to a considerable degree. In a few days, they would probably put a gunny sack on someone behind Yao Ning Ning's back and give him a good beating. Otherwise, how could they vent their anger? Chasing a woman is actually so difficult. You've really disgraced me, the great demon King Tan. You mustn't recognize me when you go out in the future. I can't afford to lose that face. Tan Tan laughed arrogantly. It was as if he was really a great expert. Yao Ning Ning wanted to say something, but hesitated. Then, she said with a sad face, "Brother Tan, what do you think I can do? He's just ignoring me. Moreover, he's much better at fighting than I am now. In addition, there's also an explanation is a cover-up. A cover-up is the truth. In the final analysis, isn't it just one sentence, you're a good-for-nothing? You still have to find so many excuses. All of them are cover-ups and excuses." Tan Tan raised his head and flicked his hair. Take me and my senior martial brother for example. We two senior martial brothers have always been successful in this aspect. Oh, I understand now. It must be because you're too ugly. You don't have any skills to show. So, wouldn't people look down on you? Yao Ning Ning clearly didn't even have the mood to quarrel. She sighed. My heart is now like the 1,000-year snow of the snowy plains. My feelings are like ice. What's that ice again? She had suddenly forgotten her words halfway through her sentence. As expected, her idiocy had reached a considerable level. She could do what others couldn't. Bai Shixian, who was reading a book and pretending to be calm, finally couldn't help but chuckle. She laughed so hard that she was trembling. She was rejoicing in other people's misfortune. Yao Ning Ning was feeling sad at this moment. She suddenly saw Bai Shixian's graceful and elegant figure. She was as beautiful as a painting. She couldn't help but stare at her. She muttered, a graceful and virtuous woman. Her smile can topple a city. Her smile can topple a country. It's hard to describe. Uncle Hu and Uncle Ma's faces darkened when they heard this. You're really disappointing. No wonder people mock you so much. You were so desperate for a woman just now. Now, you're facing another woman. You're revealing your perverted nature in the blink of an eye. You say, do you still have any moral integrity? You can't? Tan Tan was wholeheartedly rejoicing in other people's misfortune at this moment. He was laughing so hard that his mouth had stretched all the way to his cheeks. His belly was bulging as he laughed heartily. Suddenly he saw Chu Yang coming down. So, he had a bright idea. He said, why don't you let me and my senior martial brother help you? It's said that my senior martial brother is a weirdo. No matter what kind of woman is difficult to deal with, all of them become soft in front of him. His attainments are second to none in the world of picking up girls. He's at the point of perfection. He's at the peak of perfection. He does as he pleases. He's always successful. As long as my senior martial brother goes, he'll immediately take down any kind of woman. My senior martial brother has a way to pick up girls from the age of 80 to the age of 8. Chu Yang, who had just come down, heard this. His face darkened. How can you talk like that? Moreover, I've only seen a few women in total. You're saying that I'm like a saint who destroys flowers. You're slandering me. You're making up rumors. Yao Ningning's eyes lit up when he heard this. But, he said with some hesitation, this matter of picking up girls, can you still let others help you? Isn't this not very good? Tan Tan scolded him in disappointment. You're really a pig. No, saying that you're a pig is simply mocking other people's pigs. Don't tell me that you don't know the principle of a hero needs 3 helpers? You're wasting my saliva on such a small principle. This sentence is also reasonable. Yao Ningning immediately made up his mind, all right. In fact, I've already given up. It's just that I don't know who killed me. I'm really a bit wronged. You can't force a melon to be sweet. As long as Big Brother Chu can help me find out who her sweetheart is, I'll be satisfied. I won't ask for more. Tan Tan raised his eyebrows. Just find out? Isn't this request too high? You're not planning to get rid of that pretty boy, right? And then, how can I be that kind of person? Yao Ningning cried out as if he had been wronged. I just want to tell that person that he must treat her well. She's a good girl. I can't take care of her for a lifetime, but I also hope that she can be happy. How can I do such a despicable thing? What kind of person do you think I am? Tan Tan looked at him with some suspicion. I really didn't expect that you're actually a love saint. You're really worthy of being my brother. Yao Ningning's face turned red. I won't allow you to blaspheme my love experience. Tan Tan smiled strangely. Well, we will fulfill your wish. Your big brother Chu will personally go into action and show his skills as long as you can serve him comfortably. Then, this matter will be as easy as turning over one's hand. In fact, it will be as easy as turning over one's hand. Yao Ningning turned his head to look at Chu Yang and pleaded, Big brother Chu. Chu Yang sighed deeply and shook his head. I can't help you with this matter. I don't have that ability. He hadn't even finished speaking when Tan Tan and Yao Ningning hugged each other's arms and escorted him out of the door. That won't do. You have to go even if you don't want to. In any case, I'm counting on you. Boss, bring out your ability to pick up girls. The two of them spoke in unison. I'm going out to eat. I'll write when I get back. There should be more updates, right? Chapter 2194. I'm serious. Even if I go, it might not be useful. Chu Yang helplessly walked out while smiling bitterly. It will definitely be useful if you go. We believe in your methods. The two said in unison. I didn't know that I had such methods. If she really ignores me at that time, how embarrassing would that be? Chu Yang made a final effort. Absolutely not. I have full confidence in you, senior martial brother. Tan Tan was in high spirits. He said as if he wanted to see the world in chaos, Ning, do you want to make a bet with me? Yao Ningning was confused. Bet? What bet? I bet that Chu Yang will definitely be received when he gets there. Do you believe it? Moreover, he will be treated as a distinguished guest. Do you believe it? It's not impossible for that girl to throw herself into his arms. My senior martial brother's charm is really unstoppable. Tan Tan raised his head and talked nonsense. The more he talked, the more he talked. What? I absolutely don't believe it. Yao Ningning shook his head like a rattledrum. Brother Tan, you don't know. That girl has always been cold. She doesn't even treat acquaintances well, let alone a stranger whom she has just met. Even if she can receive him, it's absolutely impossible for her to throw herself into his arms. You don't believe it? Then let's make a bet? Tan Tan laughed. Tan Tan had always been full of confidence in Chu Yang. It had already reached the point of blindness. This feeling that had been cultivated since childhood made Tan Tan think that even the heavenly imperial court's Emperor 1, Empress 1, and only Sage Monarch were all trash compared to Chu Yang. Let's make a bet. Yao Ningning shouted unconvinced. If it's really like this, I'll accept any bet. Tan Tan rolled his eyes and said, there's no need to make a big bet. The loser must gather all of us after he comes back. Then, he must make a self-reflection in front of everyone. And the content of the reflection will be, I'm a pig. I'm a stupid pig. I won't be called Yao Ningning in the future. I'll change my name to Zhu Ningning. As long as the content is not less than 100 words, I'll pass. Yao Ningning was very dissatisfied. Brother Tan, I haven't lost this bet yet. You'll definitely lose this time. So, you won't be called Tan Tan in the future, but Zhu Tan. Tan Tan laughed and raised his head. I'll lose? How could I lose? With my senior brother's unparalleled ability to pick up girls, how could I lose? Your idea is the biggest joke in the world, the great Tang of the world. Yao Ningning was also full of confidence. Nothing is absolute in this world. Let me tell you, you're definitely going to lose this time. The two idiots chattered non-stop all the way. Chu Yang's arms were tightly held by the two as they walked forward. They had already walked out of the hotel and out of the main street. They were slowly walking towards a desolate place. As far as the eye could see, it was a small path. At this moment, the path was already covered with a layer of withered flowers. Along the way, the fragrance was pleasant. Ahead of them was a crossroad with flower paths on both sides. The dark green ponds were like large mirrors, calm and without ripples. It was peaceful all around. Even Chu Yang felt that his body and mind were at peace as he walked here. He felt an indescribable sense of enjoyment. Even his breathing had involuntarily slowed down by quite a bit. He was completely at ease. This place is really beautiful. Tan Tan shook his head. It makes me feel embarrassed even when I want to fart. I can only clamp my buttocks and let it come out slowly. This sentence was absolutely unexpected. There was no doubt that it was too much of a killjoy. Chu Yang and Yao Ningning felt at the same time that the beautiful scene in their hearts had been tarnished by someone in an instant. They couldn't help but glare at Tan Tan angrily. Tan Tan was still complacent in the face of their sharp gazes. Don't look at me with such admiring eyes. I will become arrogant and complacent, the two retched. They were really powerless against such a narcissistic person. Suddenly, the sound of footsteps came from the crossroad ahead. It seemed that there was a large group of people running forward. The three frowned at the same time. Could it be that there are still people running to exercise at this time? The answer soon appeared. They saw a large group of people carrying wooden frames whizzing past. Everyone was strong and looked valiant. Chu Yang and Tan Tan looked at each other in dismay at this sudden scene. They didn't know what was going on at all. Only Yao Ningning let out a long sigh. That idiot is actually here again. He really has perseverance. Who? Chu Yang asked. The level of idiocy of a guy who could be called an idiot by a certain royal highness could be imagined. Even Chu Yang couldn't help but want to see for himself. Yao Ningning grinned. A person who is even more idiotic than me. It is precisely from him that I found my monstrous confidence. The two still wanted to ask more. Suddenly, the fragrance of flowers assailed their nostrils. They saw hundreds of people carrying large bouquets of roses whizzing over. Then, they whizzed past in front of everyone's eyes again. Only a wisp of fragrance was left. It actually didn't disperse for a long time. So many flowers. Even Chu Yang felt a little shocked. The last and most intense aria made Chu Yang wait. They shuddered at the same time. Yao Ningning's lips were green and his face was white. He let out a long sigh. This is also called a poem? The poets of the past dynasties would probably all jump off a building together. Just as the three of them were staring at each other, they saw a person walking over. His figure was as tall as a bamboo pole. He was wearing a large cloak that dragged on the ground. As he walked, there was a rustling sound. That was the sound of the cloak sweeping the ground. Everywhere he passed, the ground was actually clean, revealing a clean road. The petals on the ground were all dragged away by the cloak. After a while, when there were enough petals, they fell off from the cloak. So, there was a pile of fallen petals on the ground. Then he continued to walk and sweep, and another pile. Seeing this scene, Chu Yang and Tan Tan couldn't help but gasp in amazement. Not to mention other things, just looking at this kind of detached movement of the cloak dragging on the ground, he was full of the elegance of a cleaner. While they were talking, that person had already arrived in front of them. His arrogant eyes looked at the three of them. Then he raised his nose and said, "Yo, you're here again? Let me tell you, you definitely have no chance. Go back, go back. Go back to where you came from. Why bother wasting time? But he was talking to Yao Ningning. It was as if he was earnestly advising Yao Ningning. Hearing this, Yao Ningning said with interest, I have no chance, but do you have a chance? You've also worked hard for so long. How many times have you seen him? Have you really seen him? Hearing this, the person on the other side was furious. What are you talking about? But then, he sighed dejectedly, I can't not have a chance. If I really don't have a chance, my life will be over. This person was of course the third young master of the Tang clan, Duke Tang Yang Wei. Don't think about it. This is the great Duke Wei. Cough cough, I'm being threatened by someone. Chu Yang and Tan Tan couldn't help but be surprised. So, Yao Ningning explained through sound transmission. When the two of them heard that this guy was actually infatuated with that woman the moment he saw her, and actually caused himself to be impotent, this kind of thing, naturally, they were even more shocked. Although they still maintained a calm expression on their faces, they were already laughing to death in their hearts. And then, when they thought of his words, I can't have no chance. If I really have no chance, my generation is finished, they were even more overjoyed. This guy was also quite helpless. Men, if they really couldn't do it, wouldn't they really be finished? Chu Yang tried his best to hold back his laughter. His expression returned to indifference. He said earnestly, yes, if you can't achieve your goal, your thoughts naturally can't be clear. It's inevitable that some inner demons will be born. And these inner demons are called psychological problems by ordinary people. Whether it's for ordinary people or for martial artists like us, it's a very serious problem. These words had undoubtedly saved the face of this Tang clan's third young master. Moreover, they were reasonable and well thought out. The Tang clan's third young master suddenly had a feeling of understanding friend in the world. He almost burst into tears. He took a few steps forward and grabbed Chu Yang's hand. He shook it vigorously and said with tears in his eyes, Brother, your words have really touched my heart. I think that I, the Tang clan's third young master, can be considered a hero of a region. With a wave of my hand, the wind and clouds would change. My martial arts are excellent, and I can move the clouds and rain with a flip of my hand. If such an inner demon is planted in my heart, I won't be able to move freely in the Jianghu with my beautiful wife and concubines in the future. How regretful would that be? Chu Yang nodded seriously, yes, this is indeed a big problem. This inner demon is related to your future prospects, and it's related to your future life. You must not treat it lightly. You must think of a way to solve it. The Tang clan's third young master heard this and nodded repeatedly. He felt that the words of this young man had really touched the bottom of his heart. He had lived for half a lifetime, but he had never met a person who understood him so well. It was indeed rare to find a confidant in life. They instantly became close friends. If this inner demon is born in your martial arts cultivation because of this matter, I admit that I am powerless. As for other matters, I may have some ways, but, sigh, I don't want to talk about it. Chu Yang's expression changed from indifferent to amiable. There was even a kind of reverence in his expression as he said, For a hero of a region like your excellency, a peerless expert, most of the problems you encounter are related to martial arts. This little brother can only wish your excellency that you can achieve your wish as soon as possible. But this is awkward. The Tang clan's third young master's eyes lit up as he heard these words. He knew his own matters. He had been concentrating on women these past few years. How could he be in the mood to care about martial arts? Just now, he had been frightened by that person's cold gaze. These days, every time he wanted to do something, he would always unconsciously feel a cold gaze staring at his eyes. It was like this every time. And every time he thought of this, he would be unable to endure it. But now, he heard this guy in front of him say that he actually had a way. Moreover, he seemed to be very confident. Tang Yangwei looked at his crotch. His eyes turned, and an idea came to his mind. Chapter 2195. Tang clan's third young master rolled his eyes. He heaved a long sigh and said, Brother, even though we've only known each other for a short while, I feel that we're kindred spirits. So, I won't hide some things from you. Brother, you may be young, so you don't know that martial arts isn't the only thing in this world. Other things are also very important. They're related to life and death. So, they can't be neglected. Chu Yang looked surprised. Oh? Other things? What are they? Tang Clan's third young master coughed and said, I've had a heart-to-heart talk with you. But, I haven't asked your name yet. I'm sorry for being rude. Ha, and my name is Chu Yang. I'm just a nobody. Chu Yang smiled. A certain king of hell was very humble this time. Chu Yang's name was like thunder in the entire heavenly imperial court. He was at the level of a bright moon in the sky. Tang Clan's third young master was in awe. Ah? So, brother, you're Chu Yang? The legendary Chu Yang who killed Mo Yuntian and was chased by Mo Yuntian for 180,000 miles. But he's still safe and sound? That invincible Chu Yang? Then he suddenly remembered a very important matter. Rumor has it that this Chu Yang has amazing strength and courage. His medical skills are also amazing. Moreover, he has once treated the illness of the Lord of the Purple Cloud City. Am I right? My illness? Now, in other words, this Chu Yang was likely to be his savior. If this was true, wouldn't it mean that the heavens had opened their eyes and sent their savior to him? Thinking of this, Tang Clan's third young master's heart burned. Flattery flowed out like the water of the Yangtze River. Those flattering words were so mushy that Chu Yang, Tan Tan, and Yao Ningning blushed with shame. Sure enough, there's always someone better than you. Even idiots have different grades, high grades, top grades, and ultimate grades. Chu Yang didn't expect that he would be so famous now. After listening to someone's praises, his heart was naturally filled with pride. He felt relaxed and happy, but on the surface, he forced himself not to show it. He laughed dryly and said, I am indeed the one who killed Mo Yuntian. However, I really don't deserve your praise. Everything I did was because I was forced to do it. I had no other choice. The Tang family's third young master beamed with joy. How is that an exaggeration? You are the one that my idol dreams of. Chu Yang looked at this bamboo-like figure and finally couldn't help but continue to curse in his heart. Motherfucker, are all my fans like this? I'm quite comfortable with her mouth, but isn't her image a little too lousy? You flatter me. Chu Yang laughed dryly. Obviously, he wanted to end the topic quickly so that everyone could go back to what they were doing. The Tang family's third young master acted as if he had met his lifelong confidant. Brother Chu, Hero Chu, you said that life is beautiful, right? There are many things worth cherishing, aren't there? Chu Yang laughed dryly. That's right. It makes sense. In fact, there are many things in this world that are more important than martial arts. Don't you think so? The Tang family's third young master said fervently. For example, family, friendship, love, and the experience of all kinds of emotions in the world. Don't you think so? Chu Yang agreed with this. Yes, that's right. The Tang family's third young master beamed with joy. Actually, my martial arts cultivation is still advancing bravely, and there's not much delay. It's just that there's a problem somewhere else. And this kind of problem, Brother Chu, you've dealt with it once before, or perhaps you've dealt with it many times before. As he said this, he kept winking. Chu Yang was stunned. Ah! Looking at this guy who hadn't even reached heaven grade, it seemed that he couldn't figure out his martial arts cultivation. Did he really have any martial arts cultivation left? He was actually still advancing bravely? Chu Yang's eyebrows twitched violently a few times. He laughed dryly and said, This? If it's possible, I'll definitely help you. Although this guy was a little wretched and shameless, he put his shamelessness out in the open. At least, he was a real villain. At least, he was much more adorable than fake emperors like Delayed Rain. Under this comparison, Chu Yang inexplicably had a good impression of him. The four of them formed a very strange small group. They chatted as they walked. The Tang family's third young master was no longer in a hurry to chase after girls. He just kept trying to worm his way into being friends with Chu Yang. He really talked about everything that was good to hear. It didn't take long for Chu Yang's status to soar. Now, it seemed that he had already surpassed Jun'iho. He believed that after a while, it would be easy for him to surpass Saint Monarchs. As for the words a divine doctor in the world with miraculous hands, they didn't stray from the truth. In any case, Chu Yang was already the #1 divine doctor in the heavenly imperial court. His purpose was as clear as day and he didn't hide it at all. While chatting along the way, Chu Yang and the other two also saw that although this guy looked disgusting and was full of annoyance, he was actually not a bad person. His character was very straightforward. He put everything out in the open. He was definitely the kind of guy who was despicable to the point of being obvious. If there was a flaw that he was showing now, it was only a little arrogance. Although he was full of flattery to Chu Yang and didn't dare to slight him, he was obviously superior to Tan Tan and Yao Ningning. I'm talking to you because I think highly of you. I'm giving you a lot of face. While chatting along the way, everyone also understood what was going on with him. It turned out that when he was inspecting his family's business that day, it was actually because he had spent all the money he had brought with him. He went to the counter to get money. Then, when he went to the pharmacy, he happened to see a beautiful girl who was like a fairy buying medicine. At first sight, he was immediately infatuated and couldn't control himself. Without a doubt, he naturally went up to strike up a conversation. Of course, he pretended to be rich and imposing. Or, he said it in a way that was a little annoying. He hadn't even spoken 2 sentences when he was deeply looked at by the girl. After that one look, this guy was stunned there. He didn't even know when the girl left. But it was strange. Ever since that one look, no matter what he was doing, he couldn't help but think of that cold as ice and proud as snow. He actually became absent-minded, especially when he was going home to have fun with his wife and concubines. Often, when he was in high spirits, when he was riding the horse and raising his spear, it was as if cold water had been poured on his head. He was like a senior monk who had no desires. How could old Tang, who was like a hungry pervert in the past, endure this? He was simply living a life worse than death. What an exaggerated look. One look left his soul? Although old Tang's fear of that girl had already gone to his bones, he could only choose to ask her for help. In addition, old Tang also had a small extravagant hope. If he could pursue that girl, wouldn't that be hee? When the 3 of them understood this, they didn't know whether to laugh or cry. Sigh, how should I describe your actions? You really dare to think too much. Chu Yang sighed. To be able to injure someone's soul with just one look, and without showing any signs or traces, the most conservative estimate is that she has to be at least a heavenly human-level cultivator with a profound cultivation level. You're just a mere earth-level cultivator from an aristocratic family, and you actually dared to have ideas about her? You're really too lucky to be able to live to this day and still have the chance to see her. What? Heavenly human level? And a heavenly human-level cultivator at that? Are you sure? Hearing this, 3rd young Master Tang was instantly dumbfounded. Then, he watched as beads of sweat the size of soybeans appeared on his forehead and fell to the ground with a plop sound. He was done for. For a moment, he only felt that his 2 thighs were spasming. Oh my God, I've chased after her for so long. She's actually a goddess of death? Oh my God. The Tang family's 3rd young master touched his slender neck, his face full of lingering fear. It was as if his head had fallen off several times and then been put back on again. So, your situation is not an illness, but an injury. Someone has left an imprint on your soul. Chu Yang smiled faintly. Then, can you treat it? The Tang clan's 3rd young master looked at Chu Yang with hope. Chu Yang pondered for a moment and said, this should still be treatable. If it was in the past, Chu Yang wouldn't have dared to guarantee that he could cure it. This was because to cure this kind of injury, it didn't depend on magical elixirs or unique medical skills. The most basic and most necessary condition was that the doctor must have a higher cultivation level than the person who did it. Now that Chu Yang had reached the level of a saint, it was naturally not difficult for him to cure a heavenly human-level imprint. Ah, that's great. Tang Yangwei immediately danced with joy. He became excited. Oh my God. You don't know what I've been through these past few days. I racked my brains, and used every means to move that woman's heart. Why would I chase after that fierce woman if you can cure it? I want a woman, not a grandaunt who doesn't even dare to look at me. Then this third young Master Tang became even more lively. He started to brag even more wantonly. For a moment, the magic conch buzzed, and fat cows flew all over the sky. Dust flew everywhere. Back then, for that concubine of mine, I first introduced a master to her younger brother, then arranged a good job for her older sister and brother-in-law. Then I went to chat with her parents every day. Oh my God, like this, 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 like this. Chu Yang, Tan Tan, and Yao Ningning looked at each other. This guy's saliva was flying everywhere. And it was all about finding a concubine. In the blink of an eye, he had already said several things. Moreover, it seemed that he still had a lot to say. However, looking at how engrossed he was and how proud he sounded, it wasn't hard to guess that he was the kind of person who paid attention to emotions. He had never done something like forcing a girl before. Chapter 2196. While they were talking, they had already arrived in front of Falling Flower Villa. The magnificent rose terrace was in front of them. It was almost fully formed. Tan Tan winked. Just wait to lose. It's you who will definitely lose. Yao Ningning snorted. Her face was full of unwillingness and indignation. Tan Tan burst into loud laughter. I've never lost. So, I'm sure that I'll win this bet. The Tang clan's third young master couldn't help but be curious. Especially when the word bet was mentioned, it made his heart itch even more. I wonder what the two of you are betting on. It's so interesting. Can I be a part of this? The two of them looked back at this guy at the same time. There was actually someone who rushed to gamble? Not bad, not bad. This big brother Tan said that Brother Chu is a divine master in the field of love. His attainments have already reached the pinnacle of perfection. He can do whatever he wants. He can do it at his fingertips. So, he can become bosom friends with Miss Z as long as he sees her. Then, he can enter her room. In fact, he can even throw himself into her arms. Yao Ningning's face was full of disdain. She looked at Tan Tan with a disdainful expression for the first time. It was as if she was daydreaming. What? I also don't believe it. The Tang clan's third young master was stunned. Then he said decisively, I only said a few words to that great aunt. I just chatted with her a little. It can't even be considered as flirting. But it almost ruined my life. How can it be so easy? It's impossible. I support Brother Yao. I also don't believe it. So, I will also join in the bet. Tang Yangwei was proud. What are you betting on? Purple cloud coins or heavenly treasures? Purple cloud coins? Heavenly treasures? What's the point of betting on such low-level things? What we are betting on is obedience. Whoever loses will have to listen to the other. Yao Ningning hadn't spoken yet. Tan Tan spoke first, and you have to call me a pig in public? The Tang clan's third young master frowned and looked at Tan Tan for a moment. Then he sighed, Brother Tan, I will be honest with you. If you lose, it will be too unfair for a pig. Tan Tan flew into a rage upon hearing this. Yao Ningning, on the other hand, almost burst into laughter because of these words. While the three of them were making a ruckus, Chu Yang said in a low voice, Quiet. The three of them instantly fell silent. Ever since Chu Yang had arrived here, he had seen the three words Falling Flowers Villa at first glance. And he had felt somewhat restless. Falling Flower Yard. Miss C? Could it be her? As soon as this thought appeared in his mind, he was actually unable to suppress his longing any longer. The various matters of the past gradually appeared before his eyes, and they didn't stop for a long time. For a moment, Chu Yang felt that his mouth and tongue were dry, and his heart was beating more and more violently. The attendants of the Tang clan's third young master had already finished the flower rack while Tan Tan and the other two were talking. And the big words on it had already taken shape. However, Tang Yangwei had already lost his interest in pursuing the beauty. He already had a better solution to his problem. This woman was an existence that he could not afford to offend, so how could he dare to provoke her? Not to mention himself, even the entire clan behind him didn't have enough weight in front of him. So, this time, the flower rack had become a veritable decoration. "Hey, you go and invite Miss Z," Yao Ningning said to the Tang clan's third young master with his heart beating like a drum. "Why should it be me?" Tang Yongwei took 3 steps back. His bamboo-like body trembled, and his face flushed red. "Haven't you been pursuing Miss Z for several years? You should be the one to go." Yao Ningning shook his head like a rattledrum. No, I can't." "Both of you go together." Chu Yang couldn't help but shout when he saw that the two of them had actually lost the chain at this time. Hearing this, the two of them immediately lowered their heads. Yao Ningning didn't dare to refute. Tang Yongwei needed Chu Yang to treat his illness, so he didn't dare to disobey him even more. The two of them walked to the door, puffing and puffing. They looked at each other and then called out, "Miss Z, Yao Ningning, Tang Yongwen, request to see you." Their voices were very, very soft, like the hum of a mosquito. The two of them thought that there would definitely be no response this time. If there was a response, then there would be a ghost. But they didn't expect that there would really be a ghost in the clear sky. The two of them had just finished speaking when they heard a cold voice from inside. "Who else came with the two of you?" Moreover, one could faintly discern that this clear and cold voice was actually mixed with an indescribable sense of urgency. Or perhaps, it could be said that it was a type of unsure desire and fear that her dream would be shattered. However, the moment this voice appeared, Chu Yang's face changed at once. His fair face instantly turned red, as if all the blood in his body had rushed to the top of his head. How could he not be familiar with this voice? It had long left such a deep mark in his soul, a mark that could never be erased. "Zi Xiecheng. It's really her." Without waiting for Yao Ningning and Tang Yongwei to reply, Chu Yang took a deep breath and said, "It's me." Yao Ningning and Tang Yongwei rolled their eyes at the same time. How could he be a master of love? How could he have the cheek to say such a simple opening? "It's you?" How would she know who you are? But in the next moment, something extremely unimaginable and unbelievable happened. It happened right in front of the two idiots. Boom! The gate of Luo Hua Courtyard, which had been closed all year round, suddenly opened without any warning. The two sides of the gate separated and bounced back after hitting the wall. While bouncing back, the gate was still drifting back and forth with a whoosh. Oh my gosh! Wasn't this reaction a little too intense? Yao Ningning and Tang Yongwei's eyebrows twitched wildly, and their necks were also very long. Their faces were full of astonishment and disbelief. The door of the courtyard opened, and inside was a quiet and secluded path. At its widest part, it could only allow 2 people to walk side by side. There were flowers of all colors on both sides, and petals constantly fell from the trees on both sides, landing on the flower path, forming a flower path that was filled with a strong fragrance. A white figure appeared in a flash, and at the end of the path, it was as if a graceful figure had appeared out of thin air. Black hair like clouds, white clothes whiter than snow, indescribably magnificent and inexhaustible beauty. At this moment, that peerless beauty was looking up at the crowd, but her eyes seemed to be searching for something, faintly revealing eagerness and anxiety. Chu Yang deeply gazed at her. Their gazes met, and both of them trembled a little. Although these 2 people didn't open their mouths to speak, but invisibly thousands of words were contained in the meeting of their gazes. "You finally came, I've been waiting for you for a long time. You're really here, I've been looking for you for a long time." Then, that white-clothed figure drifted out like a gust of wind. Chu Yang restrained the churning emotions in his heart, and took a step forward, and said with a smile, "It's really you, it's really you." That white figure didn't answer, and only rushed over as if she was flying. Tan Tan looked on from the side and was tongue-tied. He was dumbstruck, and his eyebrows were raised in exultation. She's coming, she's coming. She's throwing herself into my arms." Yao Ningning and Tang Yongwei's 4 eyeballs had already popped out, and were about to pop out of their eye sockets. Is Big Brother's charm really so terrifying? Can he really make a beauty throw herself into his arms? I've seen her the moment I came. Moreover, she's flying out to greet me. Moreover, looking at this posture, she's definitely going to rush into my arms. She's throwing herself into my arms, so entering my room is naturally not a problem. But this doesn't make sense, right? Under the gazes of the three of them, under Chu Yang's agitated welcome with open arms, Zi Sheqing rushed over like a whirlwind, and then scolded loudly, "You bastard!" Then she punched Chu Yang's lower abdomen fiercely and accurately. Ouch! Poor Minister Chu was just fantasizing about the beauty throwing herself into his arms, and the romantic scene of him being filled with soft, warm, and fragrant jade. It's a good thing that he was about to enter the room later, but who would have thought that he would actually receive such a fierce and sharp punch? It was a move on the spot. It was a move without any tricks at all. His entire body immediately bent into the shape of a prawn. His back suddenly swelled up, his head stretched forward, his hands stretched forward, and his legs stretched forward. But his entire body was like a cannonball that was shot out of the barrel, flying backwards at an extremely fast speed. With a swoosh, he had already flown to God knows where. "You damned bastard, you still dare to come?" Zi Sheqing's eyes were still red, and she muttered angrily, "God-damned bastard. Heartless man. You actually took so long to come. Obviously, you don't care about me at all." Yao Ningning and Tang Yangwei quietly retracted their necks. "Oh my God. She's really too fierce. Luckily, we didn't catch up to her. If she did, my future days." The two of them looked at each other at the same time, and both saw the deep fear in the depths of each other's eyes. They were really too lucky. At the side, Tan Tan was also dumbfounded. Just now, when he saw Chu Yang being attacked, he subconsciously wanted to help him. But after listening to the woman's words, he suddenly understood. This woman is actually a sister-in-law. But what's going on? Since she's a sister-in-law, why did they fight so fiercely the moment they met? And so fiercely too. If she's a sister-in-law, she should have thrown herself into his arms, and then the two of them would enter the room together. Why did it turn out like this? This doesn't make sense. Wait, doesn't that mean that I've lost the bet? Oh my God. You've lost. The truth is very obvious, you've lost. Yao Ningning and Tang Yangwei immediately turned to look at Tan Tan. The two of them pointed their fingers at him and gave a conclusion. Although this guy was ugly, at least he didn't feel as dangerous as when they stared at the beautiful woman in front of them. I've lost? It hasn't reached the point where the winner and loser are decided yet. Tan Tan argued irrationally. Maybe she'll throw herself into his arms later. Right now, they're just flirting. A figure flashed, and Zi Sheqing floated over. Her expression was very unfriendly. What are you guys talking about? What, throwing herself into his arms and flirting? Nothing, just a private conversation. The three of them laughed dryly and hurriedly tried to cover it up. Speak! Zi Sheqing shouted, and her power was immediately apparent. Tianji might not be able to make up for it. Cousin came to my place and dragged me to drink. Dan, we've finally met, haven't we? So it can't be considered as keeping me in suspense. Chapter 2197. The three of them, even the undisciplined and out-of-control Tan Tan, shivered and withered. What exactly happened? Tell me clearly. Zi Sheqing's face was full of anger. Under the threat of the beauty, the first to surrender was undoubtedly His Highness Yao Ningning. Once Zi Sheqing got angry, even Yao Ningning's liver was trembling and his guts were about to explode. Under such circumstances, if he betrayed his brother, then so be it. He would rather die than die. Sigh, it has really become a conditioned reflex. You can't blame me for this. Therefore, he narrated the entire story in detail, no matter how big or small it was. Well, they are also kind-hearted. They came to help me pick up girls. No, they came to the... Yao Ningning's words were incoherent, and her eyes were rolling. Isn't there a saying, 3 good men help, this, that? Before I came, I even made a bet with him, as that, what's going on? Yao Ningning's heart trembled and his guts were about to burst. Under Zi Sheqing's sharp gaze, which seemed to want to kill him, He stammered and spilled everything. The more Zi Sheqing listened, the uglier her face became. More and more dark clouds shrouded the sky. It looked like thunder and lightning were about to flash, and thunderbolts were about to strike. The three of them felt their legs cramping. They wanted to leave but didn't dare to. Even if they could run, they didn't dare to. Even if a monk could run, could the temple run away? Wow. Zi Sheqing gritted her teeth. The few of you actually dared to use me to make a bet? We don't dare. We don't dare. The three of them shook their heads and laughed dryly. With a swoosh, Chu Yang flew back. His face was pale as he said, "Big Sister Zi, please forgive me. It's because my cultivation isn't high enough. There's nothing I can do about it." Zi Sheqing's expression was cold and she said angrily, "Whether your cultivation is high enough or not is another matter. But when you came here, you actually wanted to make a bet with others. You actually used me as a bet and helped others pick up girls. You're really something. Why didn't I see that you're so amazing in the past? I've really misjudged you." Chu Yang was dumbstruck when he heard this. He opened his eyes and looked at Yao Ningning, Tan Tan, and Tang Yangwei. He had never thought that he would be betrayed by these three people in such a short period of time after he had been sent flying by a punch. Wasn't this a little too fast? Things were developing too quickly. How could they be cleaned up? Save me. Cough cough. You heard me tell you that they were the only ones gambling. I had nothing to do with it. Really? Chu Yang explained weakly, "Big Sister Zi, you have to be impartial. You have to believe in my character. You have to stand up for me. You're clearly the one who forced us to gamble." The three of them shouted together. Now that the three of them had recognized the situation, they naturally wanted to disassociate themselves from the matter. The three of them were outsiders, so the two of them could argue among themselves. "Do you still have any morals? Do you even believe your own words?" Zi Sheqing sneered, her face flushed red. If this fellow made such a bet with them, wouldn't it mean that he was confident in himself? Humph, he actually made a bet with others that I would throw myself into his arms. And that, when Zi Sheqing thought of this, she instantly felt that the gentleness in her heart had turned into embarrassment and anger. She couldn't control herself anymore. This bastard, what kind of person does he think I am? He's really itching for a beating. I'll believe you. Zi Sheqing gritted her teeth and blushed. "Come over, I'm willing to believe you this time. Come over, come over." "Why aren't you coming over?" Chu Yang turned around and was about to run away. He shouted, "Big sister, this is really a misunderstanding." "Misunderstanding your head. Stop right there." Zi Sheqing shouted and flew up. The astonishing speed of a saint was fully displayed. She kicked Chu Yang to the ground in midair. Then her fists were like meteors and her legs were like torrential rain, pouring down on Chu Yang's body. "Spare my life." Oh. Chu Yang held his head and begged for mercy. Zi Sheqing turned a deaf ear to his begging. She punched him again and again like a storm. She muttered, "I'll let you make a bet." "Make a bet? Make another bet." Bet. Chu Yang's body was smashed into the ground by Zi Sheqing at a speed visible to the naked eye. Tan Tan and the other two watched from the side until their lips turned green and their faces turned pale. They were trembling all over. They were scared out of their wits. Especially Yao Ningning and Tang Yangwei, their calves were already cramping. Ugh, too savage, too savage, too savage. Sure enough, you can't judge a book by its cover. Who would have thought that this dainty and beautiful girl was actually such a violent woman? We are so lucky, so lucky, so lucky. Tan Tan was also shocked in his heart. When did senior brother pick up such a fierce sister-in-law? This is too frightening. Senior brother's taste is indeed very heavy. After a long while, Zi Sheqing pulled Chu Yang out of the ground. She said fiercely, "Are you betting that I will throw myself at you? Do you still want to enter the room?" However, because there was still a piece of soil in his mouth, his words were unclear, and it was difficult for him to express his meaning. "I'll fulfill your wish today and throw myself into your arms." Zi Sheqing kicked Chu Yang. With a swoosh, Chu Yang turned into a shooting star in the sky and left everyone's sight once again. The three of them were sweating profusely as they watched, not daring to make the slightest movement. Wasn't this sister-in-law a little too fierce? It's a pity that Teacher Cat isn't here. Otherwise, he would be filled with regret. It turns out that I'm not the only unfortunate man in this world. There are actually people who are even more miserable than me. Brother Chu, I don't mind you laughing at me in the past. Do you really think that you can bully me just because your cultivation has increased? Naive. Childish. Zi Xiecheng raised her nose and smiled. Between her smile and frown, she was actually very elegant and charming. Then, she said in a gentle voice, the three of you are guests from afar, and also his friends. Please come in and have a seat. I'll serve you a cup of tea. We don't dare. Tan Tan and the other two turned pale and shook their heads in unison. They really wanted to say that they weren't familiar with that person, but they were too embarrassed to say it out loud. Are you coming in or not? Zi Xiecheng's expression changed instantly and she shouted, let's go in and drink tea. The three of them shuddered at the same time and walked into Falling Flower's cottage carefully and fearfully. In the face of Zi Xiecheng's warm invitation and cordial greeting, the three of them felt that they had walked into the mouth of a tigress. Who can save us and escape from the tiger's mouth? Yao Ningning and the Tang clan's third young master, who once had endless fanciful thoughts about Zi Xiecheng, no longer had any fanciful thoughts at this moment. How would they dare to? Pray to God, please don't let this woman remember that they had feelings for her. Other than that, their only thought was, how can we get out of here unscathed? Once they thought of this question, they simply couldn't help but cry. Because, was it possible? Impossible, right? How could it be possible? You are Yao Ningning, you are that Tang Yangwei, and this is? Zi Xiecheng looked at Tan Tan and frowned. Tan Tan said with fear and trepidation, I am Tan Tan, I am. Zi Xiecheng was suddenly enlightened. Oh, I know who you are. You are that junior brother of Chu Yang, right? Tan Tan was energized and said, yes, senior sister-in-law's eyes are as sharp as torches. Do you think I am handsome? As he said that, he still pretended to flick his hair elegantly. Although he was scared and terrified, at such a critical moment, he still couldn't lose his elegance. His confidence was still there. Am I handsome? The corners of Zi Xiecheng's mouth twitched very clearly. After a long while, she laughed dryly and said, handsome. No wonder Chu Yang often praised you for being handsome. To be honest, I didn't really believe it at first. After all, seeing is believing. It's only when I see you now that I believe that you are indeed very handsome. As the saying goes, seeing you in person is better than hearing about you. You are indeed a dragon and a phoenix. You have a dignified appearance. You look talented, handsome, and elegant. Upon hearing that, Tan Tan was overjoyed and laughed heartily. He was so happy that he danced and said, senior sister-in-law's eyes are as sharp as torches and you have seen more than others. Are you speaking the truth? You aren't just saying that, right? Zi Xiecheng swallowed a mouthful of saliva with difficulty and said, how can that be? Every word is true from the bottom of my heart. After saying that, she reacted and said angrily, that is your senior sister-in-law? Don't talk nonsense. Others don't understand my handsomeness. Only senior sister-in-law knows me, understands me, and understands me. What regrets do I have in life to have a confidant? Zi Xiecheng was sweating profusely and was speechless for a long time. Sigh, only the heavens know how much I've gone against my conscience and morals when I said those words just now. But this little one is Chu Zhao's only junior brother. If I go against my conscience and morals, then so be it. Who told me to get involved? While Tan Tan was extremely surprised and sighed, while Yao Ningning and the Tang clan's third young master were trembling with fear, the three of them finally stepped into the courtyard. There was a pavilion in the middle. There were flower racks around the pavilion and a stone table below. There were a few seats. The seats made of warm jade were clean and spotless. Obviously, the owner had stayed here many times and cleaned it every day. That was why it could be so clean. Take a seat first. I will go make tea and entertain the guests. Zi Xiecheng smiled faintly. We don't dare. Yao Ningning bowed. The Tang clan's third young master also rolled his eyes. When had the two of them received such a warm reception from Zi Sheqing? In that instant, they actually couldn't get used to it. Sit. Zi Sheqing's eyes lit up. The two of them instantly sat upright in their seats with a plop sound. They didn't dare to move an inch. Chapter 2198. Seeing this, Zi Sheqing smiled. Then she drifted away to make tea. She only heaved a sigh of relief when she reached her own tea room. Her face turned red and her limbs started to tremble. That foe actually dared to use me as a wager. Bastard. Zi Sheqing cursed in a low voice. Her face was full of bashful smiles as she muttered, "He really deserves a beating. He really deserves a beating. If I don't beat him up for 3 days, he's going to be a troublemaker." She was suddenly stunned. She muttered, why didn't I see through his cultivation just now? Chu Yang is now. What cultivation level is he at? Could it be that I was distracted just now and didn't look carefully? I'm now at the level of a saint. As long as I come into contact with him, I'll be able to see through him. Could it be that I've just reached this level and am distracted? It must be so. She calmed herself down and walked out with the tea set. When she walked out, her face had already regained its previous coldness. At this moment, there was a whistling sound in the air. Chu Yang somersaulted all the way and entered the pavilion. He laughed and said, "I went for a spin. I'm back again." Yao Ningning and the other two were stunned. They rolled their eyes. "You went for a spin? You were clearly kicked out of the room." Zi Sheqing walked out slowly with the tea. She glanced at Chu Yang coldly and said, "Why? Grand Duke Chu, did you honor your bet? Did you win?" Chu Yang rubbed his hands and laughed dryly. "I know that you won't believe me if I say that I didn't make a bet. But the problem is that I really didn't." Zi Sheqing looked at him from the corner of her eyes. "If you dare to say this again, I'll make you fly again. Do you think I won't?" Chu Yang opened his mouth and laughed dryly. Then he quickly closed his mouth and didn't dare to say another word. Chu Yang knew very well what kind of person Zi Sheqing was. Not to mention making him fly again, even if she did it a few more times, it would be normal. "Come, everyone have some tea." Zi Sheqing picked up the teacup and spoke to a certain lady first. "Yao Ningning, I already have someone in my heart. I really can't promise you. I'm sorry." Yao Ningning felt extremely flattered. She hurriedly stood up and said incoherently, It's fine. Fortunately, you didn't agree." Cough cough. What I meant was, "It's great that you didn't agree. That's not what I meant. What I actually meant was, if you had agreed, how unlucky would I be?" The more Yao Ningning spoke, the more she felt that she was too retarded. How could she say all the truth in her heart? Speaking up to this point, she was tongue-tied and could not continue. She raised her hand in annoyance and slapped herself in the face. "What nonsense are you talking about? Calling you an idiot is simply too accurate." Everyone looked at each other and tried their best to resist the urge to laugh. However, he still felt like his heart was about to explode. "If you promise me, how unlucky I will be." I really don't know how Yao Ningning came up with such a talented sentence. Zi Sheqing's face had already turned the color of the bottom of a pot. She looked at Yao Ningning fiercely. "Is this what you think in your heart?" Yao Ningning was sweating profusely. She was at a loss and almost lost consciousness. "I'm wrong, scram." Zi Sheqing pointed at the door angrily. She was so angry that her chest was heaving up and down. "How unlucky would I be if I had agreed? Am I really that unwelcomed? Then why did you, this bastard, pursue me for so long? Do you have nothing better to do? I originally wanted to use you to anger a certain someone. Now that I didn't anger him, I almost angered myself to death." Yao Ningning walked out in a daze. It wasn't until his figure walked out of Falling Blossom Yard that everyone heard the sound of slapping mixed with Yao Ningning's regretful voice. "Why is that mouth of his so despicable? Even if it's the truth, you can't say it in front of him. This stupid mouth." Tan Tan couldn't hold it in anymore. The mouthful of tea that he had just drunk suddenly sprayed out. He opened his mouth and laughed loudly. But just as he turned his head, he suddenly met Zi Xiecheng's cold eyes. Before he could laugh out loud, his laughter was frozen. He coughed awkwardly until his face and ears turned red. His breathing became erratic. Right? Is it very funny? Zi Xiecheng asked very gently. It's not funny, not funny. It's not funny at all. Tan Tan was flustered and looked extremely embarrassed. Then why are you laughing? I see that you're laughing very happily. Zi Xiecheng's eyes turned sharp and cold again, full of awe-inspiring intent. This time, he couldn't care less that Zi Xiecheng was in front of him. He slapped the stone table and laughed hysterically. This bastard told the truth. Why did he tell the truth? Wah! Zi Xiecheng took a deep breath. Get lost. You get lost too. Quickly get lost. After saying that, she didn't wait for Tan Tan's reaction. She reached out and grabbed Tan Tan's collar. With a swoosh, she threw him out. Only a loud sound was heard. And Tan Tan had already been thrown to an unknown place. Only a scream was left in the air. A human-shaped shooting star appeared in the sky again. What about you? Zi Xiecheng looked at Tang Yongwei. Is it funny? Third young master Tang sat upright with a serious expression. It's not funny. How is it funny? These two fellows are really too wretched. They're really stupid. I can't watch it anymore. I can't even listen to it. Miss Z is so fairy-like and peerless. These two simply don't know how to appreciate beauty. Really? Are you speaking from your heart? Zi Xiecheng's eyes suddenly became deep and serene as she stared at Tang Yongwei. Third young Master Tang suddenly felt that his spirit had sunk into a bottomless whirlpool. In an instant, he was in a daze. Just when he was at his most confused, he heard someone ask gently, "What are you thinking about? Tell me your true thoughts, okay?" That voice was like one's closest friend, an absolutely trustworthy friend asking him a question. He couldn't help but want to say everything he knew. My true thoughts. Third young Master Tang repeated this in a daze. Then, the corners of his mouth rose into an unconcealable smile. Suddenly, he burst out laughing. Wow, that fool really made me laugh to death. He actually spoke the truth in every sentence. How can he speak the truth to a woman? Even if you're glad that she didn't fancy us, you should still act a little regretful. But now it's great. So satisfying. To be honest, who would want such a fierce woman? That's because I'm lucky that she didn't fancy me. Otherwise, how am I going to live in the future? Even the heavens pity me. I'm really too lucky. Ha ha. Third young Master Tang laughed heartily from the bottom of his heart. Once he started laughing, he couldn't stop. Then he suddenly came back to reality. He opened his mouth and laughed loudly. However, his eyes suddenly saw Zi Xiecheng's almost distorted face. His laughter stopped abruptly. He stared straight and laughed dryly. What I said just now was all sleep talk. I don't even know what I'm talking about. Get lost. You get lost too. Zi Xiecheng was so angry that she was about to break down. She directly kicked him. Third young Master Tang screamed and his whole body flew out. After floating for a long time, he finally landed on the ground with a plop. Lying on the ground like a toad, he straightened his neck and looked around. My mother, I've actually returned to Tang Manor, and after being kicked so far away, I'm actually not injured at all? This is really a miracle. The Tang clan's third young master wiped away his sweat with lingering fear. He felt that his legs had gone soft. He stood up and calmed himself down. Suddenly, he muttered to himself, I have to go to the Luo Hua Inn to recruit people to fulfill that bet. It's also a happy thing to be able to see that ugly guy make a fool of himself. And divine Dr. Chu, that. He patted his butt and actually walked towards Luo Hua Inn while humming a tune. The guards at the entrance of the Tang residence all stared with their eyes wide open. What's wrong with our third young master? He fell from the sky in such a sorry state just now, stretched his neck and stayed in a daze for a long time. Why is he patting his butt and walking out as if nothing happened? What does this mean? Is he crazy? At this moment, there was only one woman and one man left in the Luo Hua Inn, Zi Xiecheng and Chu Yang. The two of them faced each other silently for a long time. You finally got rid of all the people who shouldn't be here? Chu Yang smiled and poured himself a cup of tea. He held it up and laughed softly. Since you've already decided to let them go, why did you let them in? Zi Xiecheng said coldly, nonsense. Do you think you know what I'm thinking? I'm willing to invite them in first and then chase them out. What can you do about that? Who do you think you are? Chu Yang and Zi Xiecheng's voices seemed very calm. However, both of them could clearly feel the fiery emotions hidden under the other's calm voice. At this moment, they were almost unable to control themselves. But the atmosphere froze at this moment. Chu Yang drank his tea slowly. Zi Xiecheng also held up her teacup and drank her tea. Both of their faces were equally calm, but both of them felt a little uneasy. Two people who could entrust their lives to each other and made a solemn vow of love to each other. Two people who had a promise that they would never regret. After years of separation, they finally met again. But both of them returned to silence and couldn't say a word. Both of them had 1,000 words in their hearts that they wanted to say to each other, but they couldn't say a single word. No, it wasn't that they couldn't say anything. But everyone was thinking which sentence would be the most suitable to use as an opening remark. After thinking for a long time, there was actually no sentence that was suitable for the current mood and the current environment. They actually remained silent all the way. Only Chu Yang coughed softly every once in a while. He wanted to say something but stopped. Then, he lowered his head and started drinking his tea again. Slowly, he drank until his stomach was bulging. But he still couldn't decide what to say. Opposite him, Zi Xiecheng sat quietly like a beautiful statue. Chapter 2199. Longing for each other, the extreme care they had for each other, the sudden surprise. Countless complex emotions intertwined together, but they were actually speechless. For a moment, both of their hearts were thumping wildly. If it was an ordinary person, they would have screamed in joy and hugged each other to vent their emotions. But both of them were extremely restrained people. Also, before they parted, although they knew that they had feelings for each other, they had not broken through that layer of window paper. After a long period of time passed, the stalemate continued for a long time. Originally, a certain king of hell finally remembered that he was a man after all, and a man should always take the initiative in this aspect. But just as he raised his head and was about to speak, he saw Zi Xiecheng's cold face. Thinking of how this girl had used this face to teach him a lesson back then, he couldn't help but feel a little scared. He swallowed the words that were about to come out of his mouth and it turned into a series of coughs. Why are you coughing? Are you sick? Zi Xiecheng's anger, which had already subsided a little, could not help but intensify again. Look at this guy. Since we met, other than getting beaten up, he only drank tea and coughed like he had tuberculosis. Can you come up with something else? You're a man, why can't you take responsibility? Do you want me, a little girl, to speak first to break the stalemate? I'm a little yi. Chu Yang laughed dryly and did not know what to say for a moment. His usual quick-wittedness was nowhere to be found. If you really don't have anything else to say, I'll go and rest. Although we're old friends, now that we've met and received each other, the etiquette is complete. I don't have so much free time to sit around with you. Zi Xiecheng pretended to get up. Don't, please don't. Chu Yang hurriedly stopped her, scratching his ears and cheeks. Looking at the face in front of him, which he had been dreaming of, he finally mustered up his courage. I have something to say. Do you have anything else to say? Go ahead, I'm listening. Zi Xiecheng's face blushed inexplicably. At this moment, there was actually a hint of shyness. This dumb bird finally has something to say? I have something to say. Chu Yang scratched his head and racked his brains. What is your cultivation level now? You've been humming and hawing for so long just to tell me this? For a moment, Zi Xiecheng glared at this dumb bird. Anger rose in her heart and she was ready to punch him. She said coldly, Is this what you want to ask? How considerate. If you want to know my current cultivation level, it's very simple. You can try it yourself and you'll know. Asterisk cough. What I meant was, I didn't mean that, this. Chu Yang realized that he had said something wrong again and hurriedly tried to salvage the situation. What I meant was, your cultivation is progressing so fast. You're really too powerful? With a flattering look on his face, Zhongyu gave a thumbs up, not bothering to hide his flattery. He was just short of wagging his tail. My progress is fast? Are you mocking me for my slow progress? Not as fast as yours, right? Zi Xiecheng was not moved at all. When I left you back then, I was at least 10 levels higher than you. Now I can't see through you anymore. My progress is really too slow, isn't it? It's important to know one's own limits. I still have this self-awareness. I don't need you to remind me. No. Chu Yang waved his hands repeatedly. I didn't mean that, I really didn't mean that. You can have it? You obviously meant that. I've already said it out in the open. Why are you still saying that you don't mean that? You really can have it, I don't mind. Although Zi Xiecheng said that she didn't mind, she was getting more and more irritated. Her tone was even more unreasonable. Her aura was on the verge of exploding. Chu Yang said, feeling wronged, how can you be like this? When we were in the heaven continent, I was treated as a punching bag by you every day. What did I say? I didn't say anything at all. Zi Xiecheng's eyes became dangerous. What else do you want to say? I understand. You mean that when I taught you a lesson back then, you couldn't resist and could only shut up. Now that you have the ability, you want to take revenge? You also want to treat me as a punching bag? You want me to shut up too? Sure. Chu Yang was dumbfounded and speechless. He suddenly realized that he was too stupid to argue and reason with a woman. He was so stupid that there was no cure for him. Sigh. You don't know. Ever since you left that day for such a long time, I really missed you. Chu Yang said softly. Zi Xiecheng's cold face finally showed signs of melting. However, she still kept a straight face and didn't say a word. Obviously, she was waiting for Chu Yang to speak. Back then, during the battle of slaying Tao, Chu Yang raised his head. His face was full of deep memories. Suddenly, he let out a long sigh. That year, that day, I still can't forget it. I'll never forget it in this life. Hearing that, Zi Xiecheng let out a soft sigh inadvertently. Suddenly, she remembered that before the battle of slaying Tao, it was in the courtyard of the Orchard Palace. It was also under the flower rack like this. When Chu Yang knew that she was going to leave, he found a way to give her things. Heavy Pill, Holy Spirit Spring, Heaven Nourishing Jade, and Hong Meng Purple Vapor, Origin of Heaven and Earth, and many other good things. It was also because Chu Yang gave her so many good things that she had the courage and confidence to transform into a human after returning to the Imperial Palace. Because she knew that she had Chu Yang's support behind her. Her future was limitless and she could look forward to the Great Tao. When she was injured and met with a bottleneck, she had the super heavy pill. When she was usually tired, she had the Holy Spirit Spring to improve her physique, cleanse her meridians and strengthen her vitality. Even if she was faced with a situation where there was no chance of survival, she had the Heaven Nourishing Jade to bring her back to life. With these things as her foundation, what risk did she not dare to take? Moreover, she also had the natural energy of heaven and earth. Suddenly, she remembered that day when Chu Yang said to her, "Big Sister Z, can I hug you?" Her face burned inexplicably. She recalled the warmth she felt in his arms back then. Zi Xiecheng's eyes gradually softened. She looked at Chu Yang with sparkling eyes. Although she had dreamt of the scene of them meeting each other thousands of times, and every night, she would be filled with emotions. But this time, they met in real life. You seem to have changed a lot. Zi Xiecheng's voice was gentle, but there was an inexplicable heartache in it. Taking a closer look, Chu Yang's face indeed looked like it had been through a lot of hardships. When he was in the upper three heavens, he was still a little immature even though he was young and mature. However, that trace of immaturity in the past had completely disappeared now. Although he was still young, he was still in high spirits and had an elegant demeanor. However, his intangible temperament had lost some of his domineering vibe and had gained some steadiness and experience. I'm old. Chu Yang was smart. He immediately took advantage of the situation. He sighed as if he was sad. I haven't seen you for such a long time. Although I'm still young, my heart has already aged. I've missed you day and night, so much so that my hair has turned white and my face has changed. I just said a serious sentence and you're already talking nonsense. Zi Xiecheng's eyes moved. She finally couldn't help but laugh. With this laugh, hundreds of flowers bloomed and the room was filled with beauty. The originally gloomy atmosphere was completely broken and dissipated. Chu Yang's rigid train of thought immediately spread out like a blossoming flower in spring. He beamed with joy and said, "Big Sister Zi, did you miss me during this period of time? If you say that you didn't, I'll be sad." Zi Xiecheng snorted and said, "Pooh, I don't think anyone will miss you. You don't have any weight in my heart." Chu Yang blinked and suddenly recited in a low voice, "The wind blows fast and the clouds are high in the sky." The moment the first sentence came out, Zi Xiecheng's face turned into the color of pig liver. She stared at him fiercely with shame and anger. Anyone would be angry when a girl's thoughts were exposed, not to mention Zi Xiecheng, who had a fiery temper. Chu Yang laughed cheekily. "Traveling alone to the ends of the world, if we meet again in the clouds." Without another word, Zi Xiecheng had already flown up and was about to beat him up with a red face. Chu Yang dodged and said with a cheeky face, "Please sweep away the fallen flowers in Jianghu." Zi Xiecheng stomped her feet. Chu Yang replied loudly, "Here. Big sister, what do you want me to do? Please tell me." Zi Xiecheng snorted and walked back angrily. She sat down heavily and her pretty face was tense. Chu Yang came up to her recklessly. "Big Sister Zi, I want to ask you something." "What is it?" Zi Xiecheng gritted her teeth and her face was red. She resisted the urge to teach someone a lesson again. "The last two lines of this poem, if we meet again in the clouds, please sweep the fallen flowers in Jianghu. I don't quite understand the meaning. Please give me some pointers and explain." Chu Yang smiled cheekily. "If you don't understand, then don't think about it. Explain your dead head." Zi Xiecheng's face was red as she knocked hard on Chu Yang's head. This time, Chu Yang didn't dodge. He straightened his neck and took it. "If you want to enjoy the benefits, it's okay to suffer a little first. This is a necessary investment. You have to give up something to gain something. You have to give something to get something in return. I want to know, please explain." Chu Yang pursued relentlessly. He acted like a spoiled child and was very tired of it. "Get lost." Zi Xiecheng scolded. Chu Yang wasn't afraid at all. He continued to smile cheekily and said, "Big sister, come and hug me, get lost." Zi Xiecheng stomped her feet and hid to one side. She said angrily, "You lecher, get lost." "I won't." Chu Yang stretched out his limbs shamelessly and was lying on the stone platform. Suddenly, as if he had discovered a new continent, he said, "Wow. I just realized why this place looks so familiar. Why does it look like the Orchard Palace in the upper three heavens? It really looks like..." Zi Xiecheng gritted her teeth and said, "You dare to say another word? Since Big Sister has spoken, I won't say another word." Chu Yang raised his hand. "I'll ask Big Sister Zi a question. Okay, I'll be honest. Everyone is suspicious of Big Sister Z's loud shout. I'll let you gamble. Actually, there's a source of income for this. Damn it, that day, a certain B*TH who lost money called me and my wife heard it. Then, the phone was taken away. Then, I'm completely miserable." Chapter 2200. What is it? Zi Xiecheng could feel her heartbeat alternating between fast and slow, as if she was both fearful and expectant. "Big sister, do you miss the days when we were together in Heaven Continent? Is it because of that this place has become like this? You must be missing me." Before Chu Yang could finish his sentence, he was chased by Zi Xiecheng with a red face. For a moment, sword energy was everywhere, but there was no murderous intent. Chu Yang laughed and ran in front, while Zi Xiecheng gritted her teeth and chased after him. In this long-lost atmosphere of being chased, both of their hearts were filled with the warmth of memories. Minister Chu was extremely proud. I did the right thing. For a woman like Big Sister Z, I definitely can't use the same method to deal with Butian and Chen Chen. This girl is too strong. I must do this to be effective. As expected. I guessed correctly. It seems that I am indeed the kind of genius that Tan Tan said. Now that I am trying my best, when have I ever failed? Aya. Just when a certain someone was complacent and indulging in his fantasy, he was already kicked to the ground by Zi Sheqing and was bitten by a dog in a sorry state. Zi Sheqing stepped on his back and shouted in an awe-inspiring and murderous manner, "You little bastard, do you still dare to tease me?" I won't, I really won't." Chu Yang hurriedly begged for mercy. How could he not lower his head in front of Zi Sheqing? It was as if Zi Sheqing had suddenly regained the pleasure of torturing Chu Yang wantonly in Tianji City. She couldn't help but feel high-spirited, as if time had suddenly turned back. She shouted again, "Say, are you convinced?" Chu Yang clapped his hands on the ground. I admit defeat. Zi Sheqing was startled. This guy, when he was tortured so badly, he still gritted his teeth and said, "Again? What's wrong with him today? Why did he admit defeat when I stepped on him?" Zi Sheqing was full of doubts. She subconsciously let go of her foot and Chu Yang somersaulted up. Both of them smiled at each other, and then suddenly asked in unison, "What is your cultivation now? Why can't I see through you?" They spoke together, opened and closed their mouths, and then smiled at each other again. "I'm now a beginner saint," Zi Sheqing said calmly. "I just broke through yesterday." As she spoke, she looked at Chu Yang with her bright eyes. She was waiting to see the shocked expression on this guy's face, as well as the dejected expression on his face as the gap between them grew wider and wider. In Zi Sheqing's opinion, it was only natural that Chu Yang couldn't see through her current cultivation level. As for why he couldn't see through Chu Yang's cultivation, it was either because he had just made a breakthrough and had yet to fully adapt to the strength of a saint, or because Chu Yang had used some kind of method. Anyway, as the master of the Calamity Sword, this guy must have a lot of trump cards. Chu Yang was indeed shocked when he heard this. He made a dumbfounded expression and said, "Saint? Saint primary level? Oh my god, how can you improve so quickly? This is too fast." Although she felt that Chu Yang's expression was a little too exaggerated and seemed a little fake, Zi Sheqing still felt a heartfelt comfort in her heart. She said calmly, "It's nothing. I used to have a stronger foundation. Now that my cultivation level is higher than yours, it's only right. I've made so many more steps than you, should I be inferior to you now?" Chu Yang sighed and said, "Sigh. What should I do now?" Zi Sheqing became happier and happier. She smiled and said, "How about you? What's your cultivation level now? Tell me, let me see your progress. Is it because your progress is too slow that you're embarrassed to say it?" "It's indeed not worth mentioning. Chu Yang sighed and looked disappointed. "I'm really embarrassed to say it. I thought that I'm definitely stronger than you now, but I didn't expect that the result would be like this. Sigh, the world is unpredictable. Heavens will make a fool out of me." Zi Sheqing's heart was even happier. She said, "Why? You're embarrassed to say it? Say it quickly. What's your cultivation level now? Say it directly. What's a man like you being so shy?" Chu Yang sighed deeply and raised his head to look into Zi Sheqing's eyes. He said in an extremely helpless tone, "I seem to be a beginner saint now. I also broke through yesterday, but I still can't surpass you. It's a pity, huh? It's okay. With your original foundation, it's already very good that you're able to reach the beginner saint level now." Zi Sheqing suddenly came back to her senses and widened her eyes. "What did you say? Saint? You said that you're already a beginner saint? You just broke through yesterday?" "Yes." Chu Yang looked innocent. "Beginner saint? I'm the same as you. Why can't I surpass you? It's really a pity in life. I thought I'd be more or less done this time." Zi Sheqing was in a daze for a while. Suddenly she grabbed his wrist and checked with her inner energy. Her expression changed immediately. Her beautiful face suddenly turned red, and her nostrils fiercely snorted out coarse air. This bastard, so he's just making fun of me. She thought of Chu Yang's exaggerated dumbfounded look just now and her smug and complacent look just now. It turned out that she was just a clown in front of this guy. For a moment, Zi Sheqing was simply too ashamed to show her face. Bastard! Zi Sheqing roared. Her pretty face turned red and she panted heavily. Her pretty face actually became even more beautiful. Seeing this, Chu Yang laughed loudly. However, to Zi Sheqing's ears, his laughter at this moment was so hateful. She couldn't help but want to beat someone up violently. Chu Yang said with a smile, "Big Sister Z, do you still remember our agreement back then?" "What bullshit agreement?" "I don't remember." Zi Sheqing was embarrassed and angry. She threw a tantrum and her aura instantly expanded to the maximum. "The agreement that I made with you before you left." Chu Yang's face was serious, but his eyes revealed a trace of sincere passion. "At that time, I said that if one day my cultivation is stronger than yours, what reward will you give me?" Chu Yang said. Hearing this, Zi Sheqing suddenly remembered. She couldn't help but blush. She said angrily, "Do you think that you're already stronger than me now? We're both beginner sages, how can you say that I'm not as good as you?" At that time, Zi Sheqing was about to go to the battle of slaying Tao. When Chu Yang asked this question, Zi Sheqing said proudly, "All right, if one day your cultivation is stronger than mine, I can promise you anything unconditionally." At that time, Chu Yang's eyes lit up. He said, "Anything? Including spanking? I want to return all the spanking you gave me during this period of time. Will you agree?" Zi Sheqing remembered that she said at that time, "Yes, if you want to return it, of course you can. I said that I'll agree to anything, no matter what it is, no matter how you do it. As long as you're stronger than me. Let me do whatever I want?" Chu Yang squinted. Thinking of this, Zi Sheqing's face became even redder. There was also a trace of unconcealable embarrassment and anger. Her plump buttocks also seemed to have a strange feeling, as if they were being gently spanked by someone's palm. In an instant, Zi Sheqing's body actually trembled without any warning. "Why, have you remembered?" Chu Yang winked. "Big Sister Z, you won't go back on your words, right? I remember that you said that I can do whatever I want to you. You'll agree to it, including stripping and spanking, including other things, right?" He sighed. "Big Sister Z, it's because of this extremely tempting condition of yours that I've been cultivating without any regard for my life. Now that our cultivations are about the same, I think I still have a chance." Zi Sheqing's face was as red as blood, but she said angrily, "Of course I'll keep my words, but the prerequisite is that you have to be able to defeat me. Do you think that you've got me just because our cultivations are about the same?" Chu Yang squinted his eyes, rubbed his hands and said, "This? I still have some confidence in it." Zi Sheqing was furious. "What arrogance, then let's fight." "It can't be?" Chu Yang was shocked. "Don't tell me that you want to find another place with good feng shui?" Zi Sheqing bit her plump lips lightly. "If Big Sister says it's here, then it's here. Take this." Chu Yang threw a punch unexpectedly. Zi Sheqing sneered. She turned her body and floated up like a cloud. "Chu Yang, don't blame me for not showing mercy this time. You asked for all of this. Ha, I'm the one who wants to take revenge this time." Chu Yang roared excitedly and rushed forward. The two sages of this generation had already activated their respective force fields as soon as they started to fight. They didn't protect themselves, but the entire Luo Hua villa was tightly protected. Otherwise, even if they didn't use all of their strength to fight, the overflowing energy alone was enough to completely destroy Luo Hua villa. At this moment, no one was even aware that a world-shocking battle between two Saint Realm experts was taking place in this place while it was enveloped by their auras. Although the two of them were not really fighting to the death, Chu Yang wanted to achieve his goal, so he would naturally go all out. On the other hand, Zi Sheqing would definitely go all out to protect her dignity and dignity. She would definitely go all out too. If there were knowledgeable onlookers present, they would definitely be dazzled by this battle. It was really a brilliant battle. The battle had only lasted for a short while, but Zi Sheqing was already complaining secretly. Now, Chu Yang's cultivation didn't look like he had just broken through to the sage level. It was obviously much stronger than hers. If she fought with him head-on, she definitely wouldn't be his match. How could this be? Chu Yang had no reason to lie to her. But if they were both sages who had just broken through yesterday, how could there be such a huge gap between them? Moreover, her foundation was originally thousands of times stronger than his. How could this happen now? This was simply inexplicable and incomprehensible. After a few more moves, Zi Sheqing finally confirmed that she was really no match for Chu Yang now. Now, she was completely at a disadvantage. She could only parry his attacks, but had no strength to fight back. Thinking of the bet between the two of them, Zi Sheqing was embarrassed and anxious, but there was nothing she could do. Did she really have to ask him to return it? But how could this guy just return it so honestly? He would definitely do whatever he wanted and use all means to get it back. Recommended a good book. The Unparalleled Demon Master, Chi Path Rotation, Above Rotation is Xuanhuang Heavenly Man Movement, Martial Saint Absolute, Human King Opening Mansion, Earth Venerable Flying Heaven. This was a magical world. A down-and-out young man accidentally obtained a magical purple bone from a corpse floating on the sea, which recorded an ancient soul technique that had long been lost. 3,000 years later, no one knew who was still alive. You're tuning in to the Han Li's Immortal Journey YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.